This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
He's got it out of the short shoot. Newgarden by 3 car lengths, leading out of turn 4, Mark James.
Joseph Newgarden with a strong run into turn number 3. Padua Ward makes a run, but he will not catch it. Joseph Newgarden goes back to back. He makes the improbable finish into turn number 3. He makes the pass, makes it stick. Joseph Newgarden goes back to back, wins the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
It's gonna be May.
It is the month of May. We've already had a couple of days of trackside and beyond the bricks in the evenings from 7 to 9. They were over on WIBC when the Pacers were dispatching the dreaded Milwaukee Bucks the other night. Good morning, Kevin Bowen. Good morning, James Boyd. Good morning, Mark Dyken, and welcome into the month of May. We've got stuff for you all month long, of course, not only trackside beyond the bricks. We'll be out at the Speedway quite a bit. We've got Tales of the Track coming, an announcement on that very soon, but it's going to be very exciting with a great driver and a great location for people to show up. And then, of course, along the way, Fast Friday, Carb Day, Quals, you name it. Kevin, I know this is one of your favorite months of the year, too.
Indeed, Mark. Terrific there, per usual, on the intro. I think we'll have maybe a few of the greatest finishes, greatest calls, certainly, of the 500. 109th running coming up here in a few Sundays. Doug Boles going to join us today, so very much looking forward to kick off the month of May with the legend that is Doug Boles. So certainly, yeah, you grow up in this city, you grow up in this state. There's nothing like May, and cannot wait to get it started. And hopefully the weather we have today is not the weather we have on the final Sunday in May.
JB, we're going to throw you headlong into the month of May and the Speedway, and you're going to get a feel for like I said, the feel, the sound, the vibe that is the Indy 500 all month long.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is all different language. You were talking about quals and Carb Day. Like I said, I thought Carb Day had to do with bread, and I've learned since then. So I'm excited for it, and obviously, I think my biggest thing is kind of being ingrained in the city more is, okay, if everyone's talking about something or they're loving something, I should probably figure out why, and I'm going to enjoy kind of getting immersed in that.
And we're going to throw him right into the middle of the snake pit and leave him there for a while, right?
Well, I don't do snakes. Hold on now.
Yeah, we'll leave you in there to drag him out of there.
It's more of the timid type, but
now
anything goes.
Speaking of carbs, Jeff, it has been a couple of weeks, but we certainly wanted to make sure that we paid up on our bets. So your sliders are here.
Oh, outstanding.
Yeah.
This is great timing because I had kind of doubled up with Mark when I was looking for it. Thank you very much. You guys
this
are the
is
best.
In relation to the backup quarterback draft that we had a while ago. And
was that for Masters right there, right?
Or was that for the Masters?
That was for the Masters.
Mark won the backup quarterback draft. Excuse me. Yes, that was for the Masters there. So my paycheck went to your sliders.
Yeah,
and
I
think
you were the man.
James and Mark will Venmo me their paychecks as well to try and offset that. But
And I'll be moving in with Mark.
Nonetheless, congrats.
Not to sound like a commercial, but a slider's $6.
Whew. Mark, you got
Is that accurate?
Mark, you got a cot for me?
I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy.
Kevin, you got a pallet, as my
I
grandma
love
would
it.
say?
I don't know
I need a pallet.
what the receipt says, but it didn't say $6.
Well, you got a couple of them, I'm guessing. But thank you very much. You guys are the best.
Congrats on your Masters victory.
I appreciate that. It was a lot of fun, and we've been having fun. And like I said, we get the month of May and Doug Boles coming up later on today. Have you all had a chance to catch your breath after that? I went back and watched it again last night with my wife because she was out of town. I said, we're just going to watch the last 5 minutes of regulation and overtime. And she was just like everybody else, insane. So much fun, Kevin.
Yeah, it is. I'm glad that this series doesn't begin until Sunday because I feel like emotionally you do need to catch your breath. The Pacers didn't practice yesterday. They actually won't practice today either. I think kind of a 2-day, a little bit of a reset probably needed for them as well. So, there is a part of it where you had to re-rack so much of yesterday. And, I hopped on with John the afternoon. It's like you feel bad because you can't give T.J. McConnell the proper attention, Aaron Nesmith the proper attention, all the storylines from what unfolded in the game. Certainly what happened after the final gun sounded as well. And it sounds like Sunday night for those looking forward to game one with the Rockets extending it by another game. It'll be 6 or 8 o'clock for game one. We still don't know tip times here for the rest of the series. We know the dates of the games, but no tip times yet. But 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depending on if the Rockets can extend it to a game 7. That'll be game 1 in Cleveland.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We just don't know the times, as you said. I heard you did a great job on JMB yesterday, and JB, I heard you with Jake yesterday. And that's all anybody's talking about. That's what everybody was talking about. So much fun. So how'd you spend your day post Jake Query interview as a sports reporter yesterday in the wake of that amazing Indiana comeback?
Yeah, a lot of it had to do with getting prepped for Colts undrafted free agents, trying to nail down who's where and who they've signed. And one of the things that listeners might not understand is, like, you have people that get invited to training camp, rookie training camp, rookie mini camp, and you have the rookies that are undrafted free agents.
Very different.
And yeah, the agents and the schools never really want to tell you the difference. If it is the lesser of the two, if it's just an invite, you'll just see a graphic that says Colts. And I'm like, is that the real thing? Is this a tryout? You know, do you want to be a little transparent there? So that's what I spent most of the day doing yesterday. And today I'll probably write some things on the undrafted guys, like fill you guys in on who they are, where they come from, and probably, you know, something along the lines of who has a chance to make the team or what's the biggest need, things like that. So not a lot of fireworks, obviously. Watch some playoff basketball again, and made sure the alarm was set for this morning.
You did a great job. And Kevin, to the undrafted free agents, Colts have a great history of finding guys that stick around for a while, don't they?
Did you go double alarm today, James?
Yeah.
You know what? Yes. I actually do this all the time, and the reason why I didn't yesterday, well, it was set. I had turned my ringer down to go into, like, Rick Carlisle's press conference and forgot to turn it back up. So the alarm went off yesterday.
Been
it's
there
just
before.
that, you know, Mark ended up being my alarm. So his angelic voice helped me.
This is rather sickening. Last Saturday morning, body clock naturally kind of just wakes up at like 6:32 or something, and wakes up Maddie as well. And Maddie just in a startled voice goes, "Kevin, oh bleep, you're late for the show." On a Saturday morning. And I'll tell you what,
boy.
the heart rate immediately going from 0 to whatever beat it met at that hour. I love my wife. She's unbelievably supportive, and certainly she deals with the kids every single day in the mornings to get them ready for school. But on a Saturday morning, to think that you've got to work and that you've been late for work, boy, that was a heart rate that rivaled,
this
honestly.
capitalistic society. Oh my goodness.
Just getting your workout
Gosh,
into the day.
I'm like,
That's all.
no need for coffee whatsoever here. There are a couple of other Colts items I do want to get to today. We did see Matt Gay found a home, and I obviously yesterday the Colts definitely moved to the back burner. Do we see any May free agent signing? That is something that, like, you do see around the NFL. Once the draft kind of plays out, depth charts start to look a little bit more finalized. Do we see any free agent signings anywhere? We probably should get back to getting to know our draft pick each day. I know Riley Leonard joined us yesterday. That's up on the podcast. Great day of guests yesterday. Rick Carlisle, Jack Doyle, and Riley Leonard. That was a hell of a show for us. So again, Doug Boles to start the month of May. And I know we'll sprinkle in some Colts today around, certainly looking ahead to Pacers and Cavs coming up again Sunday, 1 o'clock.
I like it. And
Sunday at time to be determined, 6 or 8 o'clock, I should say.
Yeah, and Kevin, I want to ask you one more quick question before we get back, because I was talking about the Colts and their history of having undrafted free agents around as they go through this process. Every team takes it seriously, but clearly the Colts feel like they can find some people.
It has fizzled out a little bit here in recent years. But, yeah, if you go back, obviously Jack Doyle, who we had on yesterday, granted he was a waiver claim after preseason cuts from the Tennessee Titans. Kenny Moore, a New England Patriot waiver cut. But, yeah, you have had names on this team that have certainly been undrafted guys that have stuck, and there will be some kicker competition, it looks like. And so, big leg from Max Trujillo, if I'm saying that last name right, from Temple. So certainly the undrafted class, they get a great opportunity, and that will be next week for rookie minicamp. Some teams, I think, do the rookie minicamp here this first week after the draft, but really a week from tomorrow, you'll get Tyler Warren and company inside of West 56th Street, and they will have their rookie minicamp.
All right, looking forward to all of that. Coming up in a moment, we've got the check down, Doug Boles from the track a little bit later on today. Looking forward to a fantastic day of just relishing and basking in a Pacers first-round victory and watching the dreams of, a veteran NBA player and another run at a title be vanquished. We'll tell you all about that next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. on their way through. Last night, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Kevin Bowen, eliminated LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers and Luka Doncic and J.J. Redick 103-96. They win 4 out of the 5 games. We've been talking a lot about the future of Giannis Antetokounmpo. After the game, LeBron James said he's not sure how much longer he's going to play. What do you think is in the future for the Lakers and LeBron James?
Well, I'd assume he's still going to play, right? I mean, I think he's proven, even at his age, that he is still a very, very high-level player in this league. But nonetheless, super disappointing for the Lakers. You don't make that trade to bow out 4-1, and as much ridicule as the trade has gotten, how about Rudy Gobert last night? 27-24. In that clinching game. So that was certainly very, very impressive. And, boy, we're getting a lot of kind of middle markets moving on to round 2 here.
It's rigged.
Good.
But
It's
the
rigged.
T-Wolves,
Good.
the T-Wolves have been building for this, and certainly they've got quite the roster.
Yeah, let me ask you this, James Boyd. Yes, Gobert, 27 points, 24 rebounds. If only they would have had a defensive-minded center in that series.
Yeah, or just play any center at all. I thought the decision not to play Jackson Hayes at all, and don't get me wrong, he was bad in the series. But at some point, I'm like, does height matter? I mean, it happens at every level of the sport. Big people get more rebounds than little people, and they did not go out there and put a big person on the court.
So they pursue Miles Turner this summer is what you're saying?
It happens every summer, and then he somehow ends up back in Indiana.
Which we like.
You would think he's played for the Lakers like 3 different times at this point in his career.
Yeah, I'd say 30.
Meanwhile, the Houston Rockets stay alive. They got a win in Game 5 against the Golden State Warriors, 131-116. The Warriors still lead that series 3-2. Fred VanVleet, my favorite Wichita State guy, leading the way with 26 points, and Amen Thompson had 25. Dylan Brooks had 24. Rockets were rolling.
I mean, that was a beatdown from start to finish. I know the Warriors tried to make it interesting towards the end, but when you get down by 35 or whatever it was, you're not going to win that game. Rest your starters and get ready for Game 6 at home.
And, of course, the Indiana Pacers.
Little tussle from Trace Jackson-Davis.
Yeah.
Did I see that?
Yeah, I did see
Maybe
that.
one.
You know, I mean, he's got to do something, I guess, to feel involved in the game, but respect.
All right.
I mean, as a shot, I mean, just, hey, you get in there. You don't want to be
For those
standing
that haven't
around.
been following, he's kind of fallen out of the rotation.
Yeah, so get in, tussle up.
Pacers, again, will play on Sunday either at 6 or 8. The NBA will, of course, tell us probably about 3:45 that afternoon, right? That's kind of how that works.
Something like that.
All right, Major League Baseball yesterday. Just want to start by saying the Rockies got a win for the first time in, I don't know, centuries. Mark
Well,
Dykton, they beat the Braves 2-1.
I look forward to you telling me that again in a month when they win their 6th game of the year.
It'll be true. Pirates did beat the Cubs yesterday by a score of 4-3. The
Real quick with that,
Cincinnati Reds could not take advantage, though. They lose 2 to the St. Louis Cardinals. They got shut out in the first game 6-0, and the Cardinals beat them up 9-1 in the nightcap. That one hurts just a little bit.
showing up just a bit. Real quick, back to that Pirates game and Cubs game. There was a horrific scene in the 7th inning yesterday. A fan fell from like a double deck. I guess he's okay. He's got a skull fracture, but he's in critical condition. It looked
I'm
horrific.
shocked he's alive.
I am too. I don't know
Shocked.
what the hell happened, but it was awful.
And that had to be 25, 30 feet, right?
I think they said 21 feet, yeah.
21 feet? Man, it seemed even bigger than that. But hopefully he is going to be okay and does have the skull fracture, but they think it's not life-threatening, correct?
I don't know how it wasn't because that looked awful.
I just watched it. Wow. Yeah. That's
Omaha
tough.
Storm Chasers beat the Indians yesterday by a score of 9-6. They will play again tonight at 7:35 in Omaha. And also, I find myself rewatching a lot of things. I watched the Pacers, as I said, with my wife again last night, the last 5 minutes of regulation and overtime. But I can't stop watching the Kevin Bowen bowling with Boomer that you sent us yesterday. I love that.
Racking up the
Okay.
views there, Kevin.
I've
There we
even
go.
broken it down like a slow motion. The wingspan comes at exactly the perfect time.
A
So you had
butterfly out of the cocoon is
you
how
had-
people have
you had
described it.
you had the aerodynamic shot. You
Right.
stayed arrow for as long as possible.
Thank you to Boomer for that.
At the last possible moment, the wingspan is there because you're a tall guy. What are you, 6'3"?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And perfect execution.
Yes, a strike. Thank you for that.
I'm
Boy,
I'm assuming someone in the Pacers digital department's like, we're doing banger numbers all of a sudden on this Kevin Bowen video.
Yeah,
We need to get
thank
this
you.
guy back out here.
and pray for your wife, Jeff, that she has to watch me
I did not show her that.
doing
Just-
slingshot bowling here. You know, when Brooke Lopez shook Boomer's hand the other night, I think I was telling Brooke Lopez, hey, will you tell Boomer thank you for the slingshot a couple years ago during the halftime show?
I was
So
wa-
if they need me for game 3 or 4 or 6,
You're
I'm
there.
ready. I'm
like
ready.
it.
Slingshot bowling, I'm ready. I will take the neck pain if it means another strike and another Pacers win.
In retrospect, you bring up Brook Lopez. Should he have seen more time in the overtime with the Pacers continually attacking the basket at the end there?
Yeah, no. I mean, they got to that point in the game with the group that they had out there. Yeah. I mean, it's wild, though, that their starting unit, Rollins, Prince, Kuzma, Lopez, like if you add up their minutes played in the clinching game, I mean, it's incredible. They started the first game of the series, and then you get to the game 5, and all of a sudden they're barely even playing there. So
It was, like I said, it was a lot of fun to watch back. And a couple of days now, I like the fact that mentally, emotionally, physically, that Rick Carlisle's given him a complete reset, Kevin. I like that.
couple more on my end. 51st, easy for me to say, running of the Kentucky Derby coming up this weekend. Weather permitting, looks pretty good, I think, for the most part. Maybe a little bit chillier than what we had earlier in the week, but looks pretty good. IndyCar down in Alabama. That is the Barber Motorsports Park there. Scott McLaughlin, back-to-back winners. The Fever begin their preseason slate. Media day yesterday for the Fever. They begin that coming up Saturday at home, Sunday in Iowa City for a little Caitlin Clark throwback. She shared yesterday that Carver Hawkeye Arena has no AC. They're not used to basketball games in May there, so I can only imagine what that sweat box will be like for the Iowa fans watching the Fever coming up on Sunday. And again, weather looks, I think, pretty good for the mini marathon coming up Saturday morning. So everybody that is running, congrats to you. And I think all things considered, maybe a chilly start, but you'd rather have that than some steamy or storms coming up Saturday morning.
James, sounds like the Brazilian national team be right at home in a hot box like that.
They might be, but I mean, Caitlin, use your power. Say you want AC. It'll be there tomorrow.
Snap your fingers.
About 5 different AC companies are on their way
exactly.
to the arena as we speak, right?
Yeah, she's very humble about all those things and the attention. And it is cool that she gets to go back and do that because it's going to be rocking. I believe Scott Agnes will be going there. We're talking to him today, I believe, as well. So we're going to ask him all about that in preparation for it. But when I got my little media credential email, I was like, man, do I want to make this drive? I was tempted, but I figured I should probably stick around here to be ready for the Pacers.
Well, we like it. We'll talk more about all those things coming up in a minute. Doug Boles at 8:15 this morning to tell us all about the great events that are coming through the month of May. Updates on anything and everything at the track coming your way as we continue here on it's already Thursday. Man, the week is flying by. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
And here they come. John Cock maintains the lead. Rick Mears way low in the turn. He may make a move here on the straightaway as the white flag comes out. And Mears is right there. The white flag. It's a drag race. They're side by side. John Cock and Mears. Mears on the inside. John Cock, Mears forced down the little line. Run. John Cock cuts him off. Hey, this looks like the start of this race. John Cock, then Mears. They're in turn 2. Now Gordy pulls away a little bit as Mears gets a little squirrely in turn number 2. They're on the backstretch. It's still Gordon Johncock. Mears is trying, but he's about 10 car lengths behind as they streak down this 5/8 of a mile backstretch to turn 3. Less than half a lap ago. Gordy Johncock by 5 car lengths over Rick Mears. They're in the north short chute. Here they come. This is the final quarter lap. Johncock maintains the lead. The voice of the 500, Paul Page. Who's going to win it? Gordon Johncock off the 4th turn. Mears is right behind him. Johncock. Mears makes a try. Johncock wins it by less than 1/10 of a second. Gordon Johncock has won his second 500. Rick Mears comes across in second place, almost side by side. And you should see the celebration that is taking place in the Patrick Racing pit. An incredible celebration now as they run down toward victory lane. What a finish. Absolutely incredible. Can't you see what I mean?
I believe that was 1982, Mark. Is that correct? That was one of my first memories of an Indy 500 watching out in the Colorado Mountain time zone. And you hear that play-by-play, and Kevin, you've done it for a long time and been around here. I still say this. I will put any of the broadcasts for an Indy 500 final few laps and the entire broadcast with today's crew. It's as thrilling a radio listen to play-by-play as anything in sports. I think it's as good as it gets.
Yeah, I hate to feed the ego of Jake Query, but he is damn good, along with certainly Chris Denary and Mark Janes and Nick Yeoman and Michael Young, and I know I'm missing some others, but they paint an incredible, incredible picture. So I say it to everyone, and James, I'd say it to you. I mean, it's such a key element to, I think, feeling knowledgeable, frankly, about what's going on there, because it can be, a bit confusing to follow, and they do such a great, great job. And certainly I've got vivid memories as a young kid hearing that as my dad kind of worked in the garage, and now it's pretty fun to be there and having the headphones on and listening to our friends and our colleagues call a beautiful, beautiful race.
The handoff from turn to turn to turn, the excitement that the guys match the speed and the sound and as I said earlier, the vibe. You're going to love this, James. I'm telling you. It's going to be so much fun. You're going to have so much fun.
Sounds like a lot to love, so I'm excited for it. And obviously from a journalism, broadcasting standpoint, there is an art to doing that in that moment. And those calls obviously go down to history. You remember those calls paired with the moment. So excited for this one and to kind of have that ingrained in my memory.
Doug Boles is going to join us at 8:15. We're taking a little bit of a breath with the Pacers, but we'll talk about him throughout the morning and that incredible 5-game victory over the Milwaukee Bucks just night before last. But I read I thought a fantastic piece in The Athletic this morning about the Indiana Fever and DeWanna Bonner. And the 37-year-old coming to the team as a 2-time champion and a 6-time All-Star and trying to show these younger ladies the way to the promised land. James, I thought it was a nice piece this morning.
Yeah, thank you. I had a chance to go talk to the team earlier this week. I did not go to Media Day yesterday, but it looked like it was a lot of fun. But, yeah, DeWanna and Caitlin Clark, for those who remember, about 7 months ago, they were face-to-face and arguing in a playoff game when the Connecticut Sun actually eliminated the Fever from the playoffs. And then now you fast-forward their teammates and they're bonding. And Stephanie White called DeWanna Bonner the mama bear of the group, and Caitlin said she wants to win for her. And so I thought that was a pretty cool moment to kind of see them come together. And I think it's also a reminder that you can be fierce rivals and competitors, but as soon as you have the same jersey on, it's automatically, okay, I actually like this person. They're not as mean or upsetting as I thought they were. And I don't think that was the case before. It's just that in the heat of battle, everyone's an enemy, and now they're going to go take that fire that they have together and use it against others. So I'm excited about that. And again, DeWanna Bonner has a Hall of Fame resume. She's going to the Hall of Fame with or without a championship this season, but she came here to win a championship. And as I said, Caitlin said, quote, I want to win for her.
I think Stephanie White coached her last year, you mentioned too, right?
Yeah. So they both came over together from the Connecticut Sun. Stephanie White has coached her for the last 2 years, and this, I believe, is Stephanie White's second stint as the Fever head coach.
Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to be on, if I'm not mistaken, help me out, James, Ion TV Sunday against Brazil. I'll double check.
I would have to check what broadcast they're on.
I think it's ESPN Saturday.
Is that what it is?
I know Saturday is the home game.
Yeah, Saturday is the
Mystics.
home game, and then again Sunday they'll be Iowa City. Yeah, I mean DeWanna Bonner, for those unfamiliar, James, I don't think it's hyperbole to say she's one of the greatest players in WNBA history.
Oh, absolutely. She's the most accomplished player on the roster, and that includes Natasha Howard, who's won 3 championships. Sydney Colson's won 2 championships as well. And obviously, you
and
have
she's not
Caitlin.
walking up the 18th hole. Like, this is still there's still a little bit left in there, and she.
It's. I mean, we talked earlier. It's kind of like the Diana Taurasi, LeBron feel, like where you still have a lot left in the tank.
Yeah.
Even though you are an aging superstar.
Yeah, she's 4th all-time leading scorer, just ahead of Tamika Catchings. She'll be 2nd all-time here rather shortly into the WNBA season. Of course, Taurasi's number 1 on that list. So, yeah, things really ramping up for the Fever. And for those that missed it, Caitlin Clark's been very adamant. Her big offseason focus, stronger, finishing through contact. The schedule will help. You know, it is, I think, a lot more spaced out. I think there were times, and this goes for every rookie, it's just weird how the schedule works. Your season end, Paige Becker's season ended a month ago, and now all of a sudden she's playing preseason games.
Yeah.
It's just unusual how that works. And Caitlin admitted it. She hit a wall at different times last season. You obviously had the condensed schedule at the Olympics. You don't have that this year, and I think just watching Caitlin, you know, at practice, you certainly see just a bigger body, frankly. And I'll be curious how all of that unfolds for her and how that helps her out.
All right, and we'll keep you an eye on that and keep you updated on the Fever all season long. But of course, we're just kind of holding our breath and waiting for the Cleveland and Indiana Pacers series to start. That'll be on Sunday, either at 6 or 8. The networks will make that decision a little bit later on. And as you start to take a breath and you start to take a look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, the one thing that's scary, Kevin, is they seem to be almost as deep, if not as deep, as the Indiana Pacers this year. And that's one of the strengths that the Pacers have had over a lot of teams, is they just keep coming at you, and the bench strength has been so key for them this year.
Yeah, their bench is very good. You know, the Darius Garland injury, I think, is probably a big topic here. He did not play in the final 2 games in that Heat series with a toe injury. For those that haven't watched a lot of Cleveland, I think for the most part, people view Donovan Mitchell as kind of their lead guy. Garland is 20 points and 6 assists. I mean, he's nothing to sneeze at whatsoever. And so that is something I think to certainly keep an eye on. And then from a front court standpoint, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, you know, Cleveland plays 2 bigs. And Mobley is one of, if not the most gifted defensive players in all of basketball. James, I know that is of concern to you. From a Pacers standpoint, I assume Mobley on Siakam. You know, how effective can Pascal be in that matchup? But yeah, Cleveland is super, super balanced again. The Garland injury will be big to watch. Their bench is very potent. There honestly are a lot of similarities just with their overall. You know, you feel good. I think if you're a Cleveland fan about 1-7, 1-8, 1-9, similar to how Pacers fans feel about their group. But Mobley and Allen against Turner, Siakam. You know, you don't often go to the bigs in the NBA. You oftentimes go to guards and wings, but I'll be watching that certainly when the series gets underway on Sunday.
Now, keep in mind, Evan Mobley is also the newly minted Defensive Player of the Year, so this is somebody who obviously can get it done on that end of the floor. And offensively, I think he's a lot better than he was last year. Like, I've watched a number of Cavs games this year just out of curiosity, and they're terrifying. I mean, they have a lot of guys that can throw at you. And then Ty Jerome, who obviously has terrorized this state before, just looks even better now. It feels like every time he goes on the court and the fourth quarter comes around, he turns into Michael Jordan or something. So he's a very good role player for them. And they are deep. And I think that in some ways they mirror each other with the depth. But now you have to look and see, okay, if that is the case, what are your stars going to do? I believe Tyrese Halliburton had a pretty good first round. He needs to be great in the second round for the Pacers to have a chance to, you know, upset the Cavs.
And the regular season series is kind of weird. We talked about those final 2 games of the regular season bunched together at the very end where not everybody was playing for either team. And then earlier in the year, I think, didn't Halliburton miss one of the games against Cleveland?
Yeah, and I believe they won without him, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and check.
Yeah, so it was kind of weird. At no time it felt, Kevin, in their 4 matchups did both teams fully play their lineups against one another.
Yeah, I mean, Nesmith missed a couple. DeAndre Hunter, who they traded for, that was a big trade at the deadline. He didn't play in the first 2 games. Yeah, you really can't look at these 4 at all. I think a huge key for the Pacers and try to do this as early as possible in the series, is can you put real playoff pressure on Cleveland? Because I don't want to act like Indiana's playing strictly with house money in this series, but when you have a historic regular season like Cleveland just had, and you really have a breeze of a round one series, I mean, they didn't trade for DeAndre Hunter to match up with the Pacers. They traded for DeAndre Hunter to match up with the Celtics. Mm-hmm. Well, they still got to get to playing the Celtics. They still have to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And can you put real playoff pressure on them? And I mean that within games. Again, the Miami series, I guess maybe game 2. But outside of that, there weren't any clutch moments whatsoever in that series. And then overall, if you look at it, last year in the playoffs, Cleveland won. They beat the Magic in 7. And then, for the most part, the Celtics handled them pretty easily in the second round. So this group, Mitchell, Garland, Strus, Allen, Mobley, they have not felt what playoff basketball I think is truly like. And if you look at the Pacers these last 2 years, they felt that. I mean, you go 7 against the Knicks in Madison Square Garden, you feel that. Yes, you got swept by Boston, but those were super competitive games throughout. You go back to last week, or certainly the other night, you felt more of what those end-of-game moments look like. So I think that's the key. On paper, Vegas thinks Cleveland in 5, maybe 6. Vegas has not given Indiana much hope in this series. Can you put real pressure on them? And the same kind of goes for the Thunder right now. These smaller market teams, are they the plucky, fun story, or are they for real? And I think if you can start to create a little bit of that tension, how they react to that, I think is an unknown for both of those teams. To be fair to the Thunder, I think they probably deserve to be in a different level than even Cleveland. But still, Cleveland had an unbelievable regular season.
Question for you all. So are you the fan, because I did this a lot when I was younger, just steal game 1? Like,
yes.
I was always like, I don't care who.
Just steal one of the two.
You
for
could
me.
be like,
I'm not going to be greedy.
You could be the worst team in the playoffs, but I talk myself into it. Like, you know what? If they get game 1, that could change some things. So I do think that is the key, though. You definitely have to split at least one of those games in Cleveland. If you come back down 0-2 to Indiana, obviously there's a chance to tie it back up, but I think you would be really putting yourself in a hole against a team that's, again, very talented.
And to your point, you steal one of those 2 games, now Cleveland's feeling playoff pressure, to your point.
Certainly. What'd you make of Halliburton and OT the other day? Do you look at it and say, hey, the final minute, that's all I care about? He made the big drives. For what it's worth, the 2-minute report did benefit the Pacers. They said that A.J. Green did not foul Tyrese Halliburton, if anyone cares about that. But how do you view Halliburton in overtime? He shot the ball. I'd be hard-pressed to find this. He shot the ball 9 times in overtime. I would be willing to bet there's not a 5-minute stretch all season long in which Tyrese Halliburton shot the ball 9 times. And we get into this debate with Halliburton. How assertive is he? How aggressive is he? Go back to that Knicks series. There were games where you felt like you forgot he was even on the floor. And then in Game 7, he's incredible. So I think we had the 5-minute sequence the other night, and I thought to myself, he hits the first 3, and then he misses 6 straight shots. And it's like, when you get into more end-of-game moments with Cleveland, what's the Halliburton we're going to see? The one that we saw driving in the final minute and had 2 big buckets? Or should we pay more attention to what happened there in the middle when, if he doesn't have that final minute, we're probably, and I would say understandably, ripping Tyrese Halliburton for the overtime effort that he gave. So I'm a little torn on how we view Halliburton in overtime the other night.
Yeah, it's a great question, but at the end of the day, it's the ultimate result. I mean, you could look at it any other time. Gary Trent Jr. just lightened the Pacers up for the first 4 minutes of overtime and then just dropping the ball that allows them to get back in the game. Halliburton, I thought, to me, it said that he's accepting the responsibility of, hey, I'm the guy, I got to make it happen. And at the very end, he found a way to get the basket and make 2 baskets, and he did get the and one, whether the foul was there or not. And I guess I hear everything you're saying, and it's a great point. But he got it done at the end, James.
Yeah, he got it done at the end, but I'll say that they certainly got lucky in some aspects, and they created their own luck by being disciplined and being mentally strong. But you had some really great breaks kind of go your way, especially like the one where Gary Trent Jr. talked a lot of trash and the ball goes through your hands. Like you got to own that. But I thought
hands and legs.
Yeah, I mean that was tough to watch.
Your description of Bill Buckner was dead on.
Yeah, for sure. But even hearing Rick Carlisle talk about this throughout the series, like, is your process the right way? I wouldn't necessarily say that their process was what you want it to be in those moments. And even with Tyrese missing some shots, he missed a couple that were like open shots. But I thought there were some other threes that he took where I'm like, what are you doing? It's a lot of ISO, hero
the
ball.
ISO one on Portis. That was the third straight miss. And I'm like, Tyrese, I think, does a great job, James, of like, no, we're still going to run our offense.
Yeah, and that
wasn't that. That was a settle.
Yeah.
That was and it's one thing where, okay, he's earned the right to heat check himself at times.
Yeah.
But he had just missed the previous two there. So I just look at the overtime, and maybe if we don't want to debate the final minute cures all, or Kevin, you're putting way too much focus on what happened, whatever, minutes 2 through 4 in overtime. Shooting the ball 9 times in 5 minutes, like that was, I mean, the guy doesn't shoot the ball that much during games. He shoots it like 13 times in an entire game.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
I was struck by that because if you look back at the series, what end of game moments did really the Pacers have? I guess you go back a little bit to game 2 when Milwaukee made a great run late, and it was the big 3 from Siakam and Nembhard, right?
Yep.
That kind of iced that game. You know, when the Cleveland series starts, and inevitably I think there will be more of the clutch moments, does Halliburton feel the need to be as assertive as he was in overtime the other night? Because that is a shooting, trying to score Tyrese Halliburton, I'd argue we've never seen. Again, I maybe it's a question for Scotty, and it's a pretty nerdy question to even ask, but how many 5-minute stretches in the career of Tyrese Halliburton has he shot at 9 times?
Not very many, I
That's
would imagine.
gunning.
Yeah, for sure. And that's
Especially
what it
for
felt
him.
like. Yeah, I didn't necessarily love the process. Obviously, all is forgiven when you win the game, and that's all you're supposed to do. Situations like that, but I thought the game changed, and it sort of shifted when he got downhill and turned the corner and got to the basket. And sometimes I'm like, Tyrese, you're 6'5". Go make a layup. And he did do that when the game was on the line. So as long as that's kind of like embedded in his brain, I think that's a better approach sometimes than maybe like some of the ISO ball, which, again, is very uncharacteristic for him. And I think he'll learn from that and kind of look over the film and say, I could have been better in certain spots. And then on top of that, I mean, I'll say something very obvious to you all. Tyrese is shooting 27% from 3. If you shoot 27% from 3 against the Cavaliers, you like your chances of winning? Like,
No, I don't like the series coming back here for a game 6, frankly.
gotta shoot better than that.
Caller Mark asked, do you think that the amount of shots he took in overtime was because of the overrated chance? Because he did tweet out an overrate that after the game. People were wondering if that had anything
I don't
to do
know
with it.
necessarily if it's like directly in my brain, like I'm dribbling up the court, I'm Tyrese thinking, oh man, I gotta like prove that I'm not overrated. I just think that it was a moment where he might have called his own number a few too many times, which we rarely see from him. And again, you're up against the clock in some of those situations, so you're trying to just make a play. But credit to him too, though, as much as I've kind of criticized some of the decision making, he did stick with it. And I think that that's a sign of a true leader, a true superstar, is that you don't wilt when things don't go your way, especially moments like that, which is why I think in the end of the game you had Rick Carlisle comparing him to Reggie Miller because of the mental fortitude.
And what a beautiful opportunity to not only get the win, but as you said, you can go back and look at the tape now and say, okay, maybe this was a good shot. Maybe this wasn't a great shot. Maybe this was there. Maybe that was there. I think probably, if nothing else, subconsciously, Kevin, it's in your brain that, hey, I'm the guy who's getting paid the money. I'm supposed to be the guy. This is my time.
Yeah, and again, there's such a fine balance, I feel like, with all of it. Do you make the right basketball play? Because, you can make the case that the right basketball plays were made in game 2, and Siakam hit an open 3, and Nembhard, obviously that wasn't necessarily the right play, but Nembhard certainly stepped up and hit a big one. By the way, did you guys laugh at the internet yesterday? Because I did.
Always, but what specifically?
The tweet, and I don't know who I should give credit to. Someone I guess associated with the Cavs, probably not directly
I did see this.
with the team, but the fake picture. Let me be clear to start
AI
off.
generated.
The fake picture of the maroon shirts on the chairs and whatever their arena is now called,
Quicken Loans, I think.
On the seats that said, "Control your dad." I laughed very hard at said tweet. Maroon shirts, yellow, gold, whatever you want to call it, Cleveland's other color there. Their shirts for game 1. Again, fake, AI generated, et cetera, et cetera. Control your dad. I laughed very hard at that.
I did too. I said fake, but that would be a hell of a troll.
Oh,
I would 100% do
you
it.
think we'll ever get a time in life where like that level of pettiness will be allowed? That is so good. James, you have to be loving that.
I would do it.
That is
Yes, I
so
would do that.
great. You imagine if the Cavs marketing team were that confident in their team that they were like, hey, we're going to put these shirts on these seats.
I would do it 100%, 1,000%.
Gosh, I wanted that to be true so bad.
Wasn't there some follow-up on the comments from his dad about that incident the other day?
Yes, and I've given my opinion on this on social media. Stop talking. It is not helping. Like,
He made the media rounds yesterday.
yeah, he made a few media rounds yesterday, and he made the media rounds on the court. So, I mean, I guess he was saying, to be fair to John Halliburton was saying he did not curse at Giannis because Giannis said, you know, he told him, oh, this is what the F we do. And again, in fairness to him, I've never heard that man curse. He does not curse, to my knowledge. He's very religious in that aspect. But at the same time, I'm listening to this interview he did with Milwaukee, local station out there in Milwaukee, and it's a TV interview where he's like, yeah, you can see I didn't, like, you know, say anything to Giannis. I just was yelling through him. And I'm like, we have video of you. We can see you walking up to him and talking to him, and it wasn't just, hey, hello. So I don't understand how you can necessarily defend your actions when we have it on video. So I would have loved for the interviewer to push back and say, well, you know, we can see you doing X, Y, Z that you're saying you're not doing. So, again, we keep talking about it. I've got criticism for bringing it up over and over again, but I find it funny, and maybe it's just because we don't have any games to talk about. But I would certainly tell him, Pops, put down the phone. You're not going to win this. And there is no situation where he looks good in this. And as a reminder, if he was a regular fan, would he have not been arrested?
He'd have been barred from the arena forever.
Like, you would have been arrested, and you probably would have been banned from, like, watching your son in this case. So be glad that your son is who he is, because I guarantee you, if that was a regular fan who walked on the court to talk to Giannis after a game, you would be going out in handcuffs. Not saying that was necessary. I don't want anybody to get arrested, not that deep. But in reality, that is normally what would happen. So as always, take the L, take the loss, own it. Hey, I was dead wrong, and then just disappear. Let us forget about it.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, it crossed my mind driving in yesterday morning, because I knew full well that nationally the John Halliburton story will play and play and play. And so, you know, I probably speak for all of us. It's like, you know, when those situations happen, you know, how much attention do you give it? And I honestly, and I guess I'm bragging, but like I felt at 10:01 yesterday, I was pretty proud of, like, on our show, I thought we gave 90-some% of the attention to the game, to the series. You go back and listen to the Rick Carlisle interview. You know, Rick organically kind of brought it up at the very end of that interview about John Halliburton. I think other things should be celebrated. And, you know, some people love to feast on those storylines. I'm not one of those. Like, I love sports.
Oh, that's morning TV all over it for ESPN.
Sure.
Right?
And again, I love sports for the games and those storylines that happen. And look, we had a ton to talk about yesterday. We should have mentioned T.J. McConnell and Aaron Nesmith like we tried to do. Yes, the Halliburton storyline deserves some mention, and I hope we can probably put a bow tie on it after today. The fact that he spoke to the media, James, probably leads to us having to bring it back up. For those that missed it, he told Dustin DePierac from the Star that he didn't cuss at Giannis. He doesn't believe in cussing.
I only walked on the court and antagonized him after one of the toughest losses of his career.
So I will just...
You still are in the wrong.
Again, to hopefully close the book on it. A, don't go on the court.
I just felt bad.
B, if you do go on the court, go find your son. C, if you can't find your son, find his teammates. D, if you can't find his teammates, get off the court. E, if you can't get off the court, certainly don't go up to the opposing team's, it just happened to be their best player, but don't go up to the opposing team's player and wave any sort of, even if you don't cuss, even if you didn't say anything, which again, Giannis would counter and say he did say something. Don't do it. Like, it just...
I just felt bad for Tyrese on a day where nationally he could be getting a lot.
How about
of flowers.
Aaron Nesmith?
People
Aaron
are talking
Nesmith
about his
is
dad.
celebrating how great of a series he had, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of his eye, he has to go get John Halliburton and pull him away from Giannis. Like, what are we doing?
Such a ridiculous statement. But getting back to the actual series upcoming,
Thank you.
I do think that when it comes to Tyrese, you talked about his moment, Jeff, this is a chance for him to take another step forward in, I think, the NBA kind of like pecking order, because Donovan Mitchell is seen as a guy who rises in the playoffs. This dude gets it done. He plays great when the lights are brightest. Tyrese, you've had moments in the playoffs, but can you string it together in, I would say, a fashion that we haven't seen just yet? Because even this past series, he had a couple of moments, obviously, that were big time, and I think overall he had a good performance. but can you sustain a certain level of play, a high level of play continuously? Because there can't be a dip, I don't think. I mean, I'm not saying anything that's wrong when it comes to them being underdogs in this series. Vegas certainly thinks so. So, Tyrese, how do you kind of flip the underdog odds? You go out there and you be the best player. Like, can you be the best player in the series?
And one thing I'd add, too, on the Mitchell front, he has been on the brink of Team USA a couple different times. And Tyrese was probably the last player chosen for Team USA last cycle. You know, is that a storyline at all that you see develop here? We know Tyrese. I mean, he had the overrated tweet ready in the drafts, ready to cook as soon as that game ended the other night. You know, is that on the motivational level at all for Mitchell individually in the series?
All right, coming up in a moment, we'll get you kicked off in the month of May. Doug Boles will stop by and give us an update on everything to look forward to all month long over at the track. It's all happening here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Simon Pagino, 2 Kolings in front of Alexander Rossi. Through the short chute, Simon Pagino the lead, trying to win from the pole. Take him home, Mark James.
Pagino got a strong run for turn number 4. He's going to pull away from Alexander Rossi. Simon Pagino sweeps the mud. Twin checkers out. He'll go to victory lane. Simon Pagino wins the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
Oh, boy, it's the month of May, and we are just 24 days away now to the Indianapolis 500. Looking forward to all the festivities. Doug Boles, the president of IMS, is going to stop by in a few minutes and tell us about what we can look forward to all month long. Looking forward to that. Also, a reminder, made the announcement yesterday, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan will be hosting the Fan Invitational golf outing presented by Franciscan Health Thursday, August 7th, with a tee time of 10 a.m. at the beautiful Legends Golf Club. We're all going to be there. You can stop by, be a part of it, play golf with us, talk to us. It's going to be fun. It's not just about golf, though. It's an opportunity to come together as a community, which we talk about a lot, and support the Franciscan Foundation, making a meaningful impact while enjoying a fantastic day on the course. For more information and entry, go to 1075thefan.com. We'll be telling you about it all month long. But we'll be talking about the month of May and Indy all month long. But the Colts also starting to get back on the field, and Kevin Bowen, the next couple of weeks, going to be pretty interesting for the Horseshoe.
Hey, rookie minicamp coming up next week. If you missed it yesterday, we had Riley Leonard on the show. You can check that out podcast-wise. James, I also think the month of May can be a little bit free agent signing time. It's not a very active month, I want to be clear, but you do occasionally get that. I think the Colts signed Rodney McLeod, if I'm not mistaken, a couple years ago. In the month of May, he turned out to be a starter. You know, obviously this guy didn't play an important role, but, I mean, hell, at times he was the starting quarterback. Nick Foles, I think, was a May signing a couple years ago. You remember Eric Fisher at offensive tackle. So I bring up those names because yesterday, or I think earlier in the week, you saw the Packers signed Isaiah Simmons, former top 10 pick at linebacker. And there were some Colts fans kind of curious, hey, would that be of interest to the Colts? So obviously that didn't play out, but I'd ask you this. Guard, linebacker, you see a free agent signing on the horizon at all? And if there are any other positions, feel free to throw those in there as well. But I guess I'll focus with guard and linebacker, the two positions we saw hardly touched at all in the draft.
I would agree with that, certainly. And I think that, especially at linebacker, you just need more depth, too. I know we talk about losing your starting weak side linebacker in E.J. Speed, who, again, I don't think they necessarily wanted to retain. Is Jalen Carlisle the guy? That's a lot to ask of him. He's only played 10 games in the NFL, missed 7 last year in his rookie season due to fibula and shoulder injuries, had offseason shoulder surgery. So where is he at? And even if you do roll with him, where's your depth behind them? Because I believe Segun Alubi only has 2 starts in his career. And then beyond that, the rest of the group, like Liam Anderson and Cameron McGrone, they've never started NFL games. And so you also lost Grant Stewart to the Detroit Lions, a core special teamer for you. I know Hunter Wohler, the 7th-round rookie out of Wisconsin, could help in that regard. But, again, is that enough? So I would definitely look for them to sign a linebacker at some point.
So you think they will?
I think that they will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So.
I don't get Ballard vibes that he's super urgent there. Or a guard.
Yeah, but I feel like every time we say you're not urgent enough, it comes back to bite. So.
Well, sure. Yeah.
But also, at the same time, to be fair to him, I was looking through Joel Erickson's from Indy Star, his 53-man roster projection, like way too early projection. And if you look at it, I'm like, yeah, if I'm saying go get a linebacker, whose spot is he going to take on that roster? Like, I thought he did a pretty good breakdown of what it would look like. So, you know, are you going to get somebody that's on the practice squad? So I kind of, you know, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth right now, but I still think that linebacker should be something to think about in free agency, as well as at right guard, too, because if the plan is, in theory, at least in my mind, Matt Gonzalez possibly, if it is or isn't him, you still want another person there, I would think, for insurance.
Kevin, I want to ask you, you brought up Hunter Wohler, a 7th-round pick out of Wisconsin, that they liked his versatility. He's a safety, but they feel he can play linebacker at times. How much can you truly expect from a 7th-round pick, though? I mean, what are they looking for there?
Yeah, I guess not much would be the short answer. Now, having said that, you know, sometimes you get 7th-round picks that they walk into situations where it's like, oh, man, I don't like the depth chart. I rather would have been an undrafted free agent, pick my spot. I think for Hunter Wohler, you got to love it. You're like, wait a minute. They just tried this last year, move a safety to linebacker. It kind of worked with Jalen Carlisle, so there's some past history here. I like that. And, again, James just rattled off the linebacker depth chart. There's not a lot of household names in that room either. Now, banking on a 7th-round draft pick to come in here and, instantly impact you is certainly very premature to do that. Now, I'll go back to something I said on Monday. The one thing about this draft class that strikes me as very different from past Ballard draft picks, and Hunter Wohler is an example of this, you have very accomplished college football players at some very high-level schools. Like, if you go back to recent 7th-round draft picks, they're just projects. They're great testing athletes that maybe came from small schools or had very small roles at those schools, and you're banking on traits. You're saying, you know what? That dude's a freak. Let's get him in our building, and we'll coach him up. Hunter Wohler, while he is a nice testing athlete, he also led Wisconsin in tackles each of the last 2 years. So it's not like he is this. And again, go to round 6. I mean, Riley Leonard was the quarterback of a team that played in the national championship. Tim Smith started double-digit games like 3 or 4 seasons at Alabama, and he was a round 6 guy. DJ Giddens in round 5, multiple 1,000-yard seasons at Kansas State. So, and of course, the first 3 picks, very accomplished. So that really stood out to me. And, Ballard, I think James kind of indirectly said, we weren't really going for that. It's just kind of how it developed with the draft. But, I mean, you look at the 8 picks, really outside of Jalen Travis, you can make the case all of them have had multiple years of strong college football at high levels. Now, that doesn't guarantee success in the NFL, but that is a bit of a difference from how we have typically seen Ballard drafts go. I think we typically see a few more projects, developmental guys, betting on traits, whereas this year's group is not really that.
No, I certainly don't think so. I think it's a little bit of maybe we need to win now and get some guys that can contribute right away.
Do you think he would admit that? Do you think Ballard would admit? A, do you think that was Ballard's focus? B, do you think he would admit that?
B, he definitely would not admit that. But A, possibly. I mean, at some point, we've said it all as media members, I'm sure as the fan base. At what point are you going to make some moves, Jeff, maybe you can expand on this, to get it done? I mean, we love projects. You took a huge project, on Anthony Richardson, and it hasn't worked out so far. And obviously, I think in that situation, you kind of had to take a quarterback. But some of these other players, it's like, you've done that in the past. Has it worked out? And you could argue that some of the later round picks that they've kind of taken swings on, I believe Titus Leo was one from a few years ago. I'm blanking on the guy from like the 7th round pick, was offensive lineman.
Witt.
Yeah, Jake Witt. Like
Northern
these guys
Michigan, right.
haven't become players for you.
Former basketball player turned offensive tackle.
So do you, again, do you target the more accomplished players, not only because of their accomplishments, because they can probably play and contribute in some capacity? And maybe their ceiling isn't higher, but they have a floor that's an NFL floor where they can play. You know what I mean, Jeff?
That's what it feels like he's learned, that I got to get guys that can play in the NFL, contribute to what we do. You take the occasional flyer on stuff, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to, since the day that Andrew Luck walked out the door, he's not been able to find that next quarterback.
Well, that, and I would argue, too, he hasn't found enough at the other premium spots. I mean, he drafted D-end in round 2 and corner in round 3. We are used to him taking swings at those 2 positions, and we're used to him swinging and missing at those 2 positions. Now, that doesn't mean you stop swinging. And I don't know, maybe today we should look at Justin Wally a little bit. Maybe the 9 o'clock hour, that should be our draft pick that we look at today, because I think the Justin Wally selection is a very anti-Chris Ballard pick. So I've enjoyed kind of looking into that selection because, again, it really goes against a lot of the Ballard history, really, especially at corner. So maybe that'll be a name we talk about in the 9 o'clock hour, because there are some people around the NFL that really like Wally. Even when that selection was made, I heard from some people right away, like, hey, I know he's 5'10", but this dude competes his ass off, and just because he's 5'10", don't write him off at all at corner. So he'll be an interesting name to watch.
We'll do that a little bit later on. Doug Boles coming up in about 5 minutes. Let's check it down, Mark.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
Rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation on the docket for the Indiana Pacers today, as they will wait until Sunday to start their second-round series with the Cleveland Cavaliers. We don't know yet whether tip is going to be at 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock. When we find out from the league, we will let you know. But the first two games will be in Cleveland, and a great opportunity to hit the reset button, JB.
Yeah, certainly, and I'm excited to kind of see, again, what unfolds. I'm on two sides of it, Jeff, where it's like, all right, rest, relaxation, but I'm ready for the game.
Kevin?
You guys surprised 8 points round one? That is the game one, I should say. That is the spread there. 8-point underdog, the Indiana Pacers.
Tells you what Vegas thinks of him. Let's go bother him.
I'm not surprised by it, mainly because of the fashion in which the Pacers kind of won that last game and the fashion in which the Cavs won their games. They won one of them by 50-plus, I believe.
Yeah, to put that into perspective, the Pacers were about an 8-point favorite for Game 5. So clearly Vegas, they think very highly of Cleveland. They think Cleveland will get this done in 5, maybe 6.
Jeff already has the Pacers winning by 20 in Game 1. I've seen the bet line.
Hold your horses there. Look, I'm like Chris Ballard. I learned too.
Hey, respect,
I learned too. Once you take away that initial 20-point deficit, they were just fine.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but again, you cannot start like that against the Cavaliers. No. I think that will be a death sentence for sure.
Last night in the NBA, the Rockets stay alive. They hold off elimination, beating the Golden State Warriors. They were at home, 131-116. Fred VanVleet had 26, hitting threes all over the place. Amen Thompson continues to develop, 25 points. Dylan Brooks, 24, but Amen Thompson is going to be a good player in this league, man.
Yeah, when you have LeBron saying he's not from here or his brother's not from here either, I mean, LeBron was a very athletic guy in his prime, and those guys are just like machines and certainly high-end role players right now and could be stars in the future.
Minnesota Timberwolves eliminate the Los Angeles Lakers 103-96. It was a 4-1 advantage. Were you surprised, Kevin, that it was Rudy Gobert with 27 points and 24 boards to lead the way?
I was. I at times forget that Rudy Gobert is still around, to be honest with you. I feel like I watch the T-Wolves, so I'm like, wait, is Naz Reid the main big guy? But nonetheless, impressive, certainly from one of the best defensive players the NBA has seen. And for the Lakers, wow, bowing out with that. I saw Mark Williams tweet last night, of course, the rescinded trade back at the trade deadline about Mark Williams not passing his physical and the Lakers' inability to find a center to turn to. So, yes, 4-1 with Luka and LeBron, not at all what the doctor ordered.
I liked the pettiness of Mark Williams,
That's
although
hilarious.
Charles Barkley calling him out afterwards going, "You're still playing for the Hornets."
That's even funnier. How did that
was
catch that?
a great line by Barkley.
Later on tonight, the Knicks and Pistons resume their series.
I can't wait for that one.
Oh,
Knicks, Pistons.
yes.
You want to talk about individual games through the first 5. That has been an outstanding series. Again, the Knicks trying to clinch. That is in Detroit after Detroit went to Madison Square Garden and won Game 5. So that's going to be spicy tonight up there in Motown.
Nuggets will try to close out the Clippers in L.A. They lead that 3-2. That one will be at 10 o'clock. I'll probably have to watch the fourth quarter tomorrow morning, James Boyd.
Hey, you do you. You know what works for you.
Major League Baseball last night. The Reds were swept in a doubleheader by the Cards. 6-0 in the opener. 9. Was that necessary?
Jeez.
What happened?
Was that necessary?
What happened?
What the hell was that?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what that was.
We all know what that was.
Was that a Cardinal?
Yeah, what was that, Mark? I thought you didn't know what that was.
I just went back in time.
Well, where are you going to go?
One run in 2 games is good, right? That's how you win games, one run.
Cubs on the wrong end of the Pittsburgh Pirates score 4-3, but Mark, you pointed out a scary scene in the middle of that game.
Horrifying. Yeah, a fan fell from about 21 feet onto the ground. He is apparently in critical condition, but has a skull fracture, but it is horrifying. I saw that video. I wasn't glad to see it, but it was ugly. I'm actually shocked that dude is alive, quite honestly.
Well,
Do we know what led to it at all? Because that was bizarre. But nevertheless, obviously praying for him and his family.
No, people I think are speculating alcohol maybe or something like that, but I don't know if he's going for a foul ball or something, but it did not look good.
Yeah, the video's horrific.
International League last night, the Omaha Storm Chasers bested the Indianapolis Indians 9-6. Those two teams will play again tonight in Omaha, and that catches you up to date on what's going on in the world of sports. You had anything else, Kevin?
No, Barber IndyCar back on track coming up this weekend. So the road course, of course, next weekend. Scotty McLaughlin, the defending champ, two-time defending champ down there at Barber Motorsports Park. So we haven't had a caution flag since the opening lap at St. Pete. So we'll see if we get anything there coming up Sunday afternoon. And that's good news for Pacers tip time being at night. We know 6 or 8 o'clock. IndyCar's 1:30 on Sunday. So I'm glad that from a viewing standpoint, that'll be spread out across your Sunday schedule.
That dovetails perfectly into our next guest. J. Douglas Boles, we call him Doug Boles, is currently the president of IndyCar and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline. Welcome to the month of May, Mr. Boles. How you doing?
I'm pretty excited. I was really excited yesterday, and then when the clock switched over to actually May, it said you just get ramped up a little bit more. We're ready. We are ready to go. So yeah, Christmas Day is almost here.
Yeah, we've had some great re-entries today, Doug. Mark's been pulling out some of the best finishes in 500 history. Let's start just ticket sales. Where are we at? Seems like we are trending in a great direction to rival even the 100th running as we sit here on May 1st. Where are we at ticket-wise?
Yeah, I think we, I'll tell you what, I think we're definitely within a couple weeks of having grandstand tickets sold out. We're well under 10,000 remaining of those 232,000. So from that standpoint, I think it's going to feel like 2016. The difference may be we may have a few less people in the infield, although if we actually get to a grandstand sellout, that could cause those GA tickets to go a little bit quicker. So we're really close, and I'm looking forward to being able to say those are sold out, and then I look forward to answering the question that always comes after that related to the local delay.
Doug, I know for me it'll be my first time going to the 500 this year. Don't crucify me for that, but I will say, should I just go to the Snake Pit blind? Should someone tell me give me a heads up, or what are your thoughts on experiencing that? I have no idea, by the way, what it is, what it entails. I haven't Googled anything. Should I just go and experience it organically? Well, what's your thoughts on that?
No, I think you should. One thing I always tell people that have never been to the 500 before, to go with somebody that's been, because it is such a it can be intimidating, right? 350,000 people likely there this year for the 500. It's a big place. It's really crowded with people, and just having somebody to walk you around and help you understand what you're going to see. The Snake Pit is. If you like to people watch, and maybe some people that make bad decisions watch, it's a great place to go. And if you like EDM music, it's certainly a place to go. And it's part of what makes the Speedway so fun is there's just so much going on in those, through the whole facility, and you can see just about everything you want to see, and it makes the people watching just as much a part of it as watching the 33 drivers.
I'll make Kevin Bowen my chaperone.
Oh, boy. Well, there we go. I might be in the debauchery with or without you.
Doug has my phone number in his back pocket if he needs to give me a call. So. Doug, what are you most excited about for this edition this year?
Well, I think for me, it's kind of the same every year. I love when the gates open, especially on race day, but even when we open up next week to get ready for practice for the IndyCar Grand Prix. But what I really love is, seeing the families come in and the people, the groups of people come in that have done it year over year over year, and just how much that means to them. So for me, just looking at people's faces and seeing the smiles and hearing the stories, I love it when people stop me to tell me, how long they've come, who introduced them. I mean, it's really what makes the Speedway so special. So I hear that all the time, whenever, even when we're not at the racetrack and I run into people, but when you actually get to hear the story at the racetrack, that's pretty special. And then in terms of the event itself, all kinds of great storylines. Can Joseph Newgarden win 3 in a row? Never been done in the 108 previous runnings. 5 drivers have tried to win 3 in a row, and nobody's been able to do that. Elio's still trying to win that 5th 500 to be the first person ever to do that. The new hybrid units in the cars, which you can't see as a fan, but I talked to Will Power for a long time yesterday, and Will thinks that the deployment of that hybrid power, which will give the drivers about 60 to 70 extra horsepower for about 4 or 5 seconds each time they deploy it, that could be a real strategy thing, Will thinks, during the race. So we could see some interesting use of that to get, for drivers to pass. So that's going to be interesting as well, I think.
You know that voice. He is the president not only of IndyCar, but of course IMS. He is Doug Boles. The month of May is here. We'll continue to play some great re-entries from some of the best finishes in 500 history throughout the show. Doug, things that would keep me up at night. A few weeks back, I'm sitting there watching. I'm seeing Joseph Newgarden honored, among others, at the White House. And at one point, President Trump says, I might have to get there this year. I think Roger Penske mentioned you have an open invite. Any update on the President of the United States potentially attending the 500?
no update on the President of the United States potentially attending the 500. If the sitting president's never been to the Indy 500, and that would be kind of cool in its own right. It does come with a lot of complications. Forget about the political side of it. It comes with all kinds of logistical complications that if he is going to come, I'd like to know sooner rather than later so that we can start thinking about how that impacts us. He came to the Daytona 500. I did go down and meet with the folks at Daytona a couple of weeks ago, really to understand from them how operationally what the challenges were, what are some of the things that they would have done differently to do everything they can not to impact the customer experience. So I feel like at least I've done a little of that homework if in fact that does happen. So we just continue to wait, and right now I'm just focused on let's get the track open and start running, and then if the president decides he's going to come, we'll figure out how to manage it.
How would you even describe what a security plan would look like, and yes, the impact on 300,000 people if indeed that were to happen?
Yeah, first of all, I don't really know how you describe it at our place. So even Daytona, it's 105,000 people versus 350,000 people. They have 7 gates basically. We have 20 gates with 200 lanes. There's a whole. So if in fact that happens, I will do everything I can to encourage, Secret Service to think of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as a city, not as a venue, so that we could limit where those impacts take place. But at some level, when any high-level dignitaries, a president, vice president, some of the secretaries, when they decide to come to your event, you lose a little bit of control in terms of your ability to control access, ingress, egress, a lot of those things. So it'll be interesting to see if it happens, and it'll definitely be something that'll we're going to do everything we can to make sure that it doesn't impact our customer. And for me, I want to keep we don't really want politics involved at all in the Indy 500. It's what makes it so special. A whole bunch of us from all over the world come together to celebrate Memorial Day and celebrate the drivers there, and then we just got to make sure that we keep that tenor around the event as well.
Doug Boles joining us here on the Fan Morning Show. How's it going with your dual roles now, in charge of IndyCar and the Speedway itself? How's that going?
It's been an interesting challenge. Unfortunately, we have great people at IndyCar and we have great people at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway that make the transition a little bit easier for me. I think it's just a larger constituency base. The emails have tripled and the phone calls and meetings. The one thing I've noticed, and I didn't notice it even during the open test, the thing I love to do the most is be with the fans and encourage the fans and hear the fan stories so that we can make the experience better. And I've been able to do less of that just because I've got some other things going on as it relates to IndyCar. My weekend, for example, this weekend, I leave today for the Barber race, which is this weekend. I'll be there today and tomorrow. I fly back tomorrow so that I can be here for the mini marathon on Saturday morning and the beginning of our Rev event on Saturday night. Then I get back on a plane and head back to Barber for the race on Sunday, and then either Sunday, depending on how the race ends and how long I need to stay for tech reasons or whatever, I'll either try and fly back on Sunday or I get in the car and drive back Sunday night so I can be here Monday morning to get ready for next week. So it's a lot more travel for sure, and just trying to juggle 2 hats at once has definitely limited the sleep. And I wasn't a big sleeper anyway, but certainly now it makes it a little harder.
I just know you wake up with that press suit and perfectly knotted tie every morning. That's how that works, man. Always looking great.
It would make life a lot easier if that was the case, but unfortunately, it's not. I have learned now, though, to kind of think about the night before what I'm going to wear and have it all laid out, so I don't get paralyzed when I walk in the closet and trying to figure out what works. So I do try and get ahead of that.
Doug, we'll end with this. We know you're a busy man this morning, so thank you very much for the time to kick off May. We are playing these re-entries today of some of the greatest finishes in 500 history. If I had to pin you down for just one, your greatest finish would be what?
Well, obviously you can pick things like Al Unser Jr. and you can pick things like Rick Mears and some of those great ones. For me, maybe the greatest finish. And I think it's because he finally won the Indy 500 was Tony Kanaan picking up his first win in 2013, and just how much our crowd went crazy. But to your point, there are so many of them, and that's cool that you're going through them. But that would be the one to me, and maybe it's because it was I was chief operating officer. I knew I was going to end up being president of the Speedway a couple months later, and I had such a great relationship with TK, and he loves this place like our fans love this place. So for me, that was just a special finish. He and Ryan Hunter-Ray battling it out there at the end, and then TK picking up that victory.
Doug, thanks for your time. Open invitation here all month long. Anytime you want, anything you need, we'll be here as your partner, and we appreciate you, man.
You got it, and you know my number, so call anytime you need something.
Thank you, Doug. See you in the Snakes Pit.
He may escort you there and just drop you off. Say good luck.
It's like, good luck getting back, surviving this.
It's not quite your dad's snake pit, though. That was anything goes wild, wild west back in the day, man.
Again, I'm curious to see.
All right, coming up in a minute, we will talk Pacers, a little bit of fever. Scott Agnes from the Fieldhouse Files stops by as we have a couple of days between Pacers games. We'll tell you how we're going to fill it next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Beat JB and Jeff.
Alexander Rossi, the rookie out of California, is backing up the pace. Carlos Munoz charging. Alexander Rossi into turn number 4 on fumes.
Alexander Rossi for the final time exits turn number 4. Here he comes, Mark James.
He may have to coast across the finish line. Alexander Rossi almost rolling to a dead stop. Twin checkers are out, and the rookie will win the 100th Indianapolis 500-mile race.
I remember that one. Rossi just running out of fuel, but just made it to the line, man. Good job on the re-entries again, Mark. As always,
Thank you.
Doing a fantastic job. We've got NBA playoffs right here. The Pacers have won round 1, dispatched the Bucks. Maybe it was the end of the Giannis era in Milwaukee. Who knows? They're getting ready for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and to tell us more about that now from the Fieldhouse Files, Scott Agnes stops by on the Payless Liquors hotline. Real quick, Scott, I know you're an Indiana guy. Any favorite Indy 500 memories for you?
There's just so many. I will say doing the radio out at the track the last couple of years was a lot of fun, but probably the first race where we all came back after the pandemic and you truly don't take that for granted anymore is probably the most recent one that stands out.
Good stuff. Well, we're in the midst of the NBA playoffs. Now you've had a day and a half to think about it. What are your thoughts on the Pacers and how they dispatched the Milwaukee Bucks in round 1?
Yeah, I wasn't too surprised, honestly, how it all went down. This Bucks team, to me, is really past its expiration date, similarly to how the Pacers kind of were about 3 years ago. And I'm not sure where the Bucks go from here with Giannis and company just because of their roster. But in terms of the Pacers, I thought their depth shined through. Their stars each had a couple big games. I thought Miles Turner, even forget his offensive statistics, I thought Miles was so productive for those 5 games and really strong. And then just the defense of Nesmith and Nembhard again shining through as well.
Scott, you mentioned depth is one of the Pacers' strengths, and we've seen that all year, but obviously the Cavs are very depth as well when it comes to talent and things like that. So what challenges do you think they'll present in Cleveland?
Yeah, so in depth's an interesting thing too, right? Because every team wants to talk about it, but then you get to the postseason, and normally it doesn't play as big a factor, and the coach narrows the rotation down to 8 or 9 players. But that's something that just hasn't happened here with this group, just because of everybody each having their role. And where it comes in, the most important thing is when a guy or two is just off or not feeling it in a game, somebody else can pick it up and step up and be huge. And so, for example, when they needed to throw all these different bodies at Giannis in this past series, they could with Siakam, with Turner, with Nesmith, Jarris Walker. There's a perfect example in there. They wanted to throw a different look, and a guy who hadn't gotten much opportunity took advantage of it. Now you move into this next series, and I think it's a decent matchup because this is not a wing-heavy team like the Boston Celtics are, and that's been the Pacers' kryptonite for quite a while. But it's guard-heavy, center-heavy, similarly to how the Pacers previously were constructed, and so it's a very different matchup. And unfortunately, the regular season is not much help, right? Because those games aren't very informative about how they could play each other and all that, especially because 2 of the last 3 games were against the Cavs, and the Cavs at that point had things locked up and were playing their 3rd unit by the time those games came around.
You can find Scott's work, Fieldhouse Files. Busy man, certainly with the Fever getting ready to start here. He's off to Iowa City coming up on Sunday for their second preseason game. Scott Agnes with us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Scott, you're always all over these stories, and I know Rick Carlisle mentioned it after the game the other night. You know, he brought up the Netflix cameras following around Tyrese Halliburton. Is that the same thing that Sabonis did a couple years ago?
Yeah, Tyrese is part of the starting 5. That will be, I think, season 2 there on Netflix. There hadn't been an announcement in terms of, I don't think, when it's out or anything like that. But yeah, that's what Rick was referencing there inside.
And so that's just simply, hey, they get full reign to wherever they want to go, and Tyrese is mic'd up. I guess I was unfamiliar with kind of what the access looks like.
I would presume it's uniquely to each team, right? One team may give full access, another might say you're welcome at practices and such, and off the court. And I don't know to what extent the Pacers have opened the door, but it certainly sounds like it's nearly full access based on what Rick had to say post game there. And then of course they'll probably track a lot of the different Tyrese stories, right? The overrated chance and having his family courtside and maybe be in his hotel room as he's getting a haircut on the road and just talking hoops and trying to take fans behind the scenes while also sharing their stories.
Kevin had a great observation a little while ago. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. He was talking about Tyrese's performance in overtime, that he took 9 shots in those 5 minutes, hits the opening 3, then he struggles for a bit before getting those final 2 driving layups. What do you think was going on, the thought process for Tyrese in taking so many shots? A guy, as Kevin pointed out, only averages about 13 a game to take 9 in a 5-minute period there.
Yeah, no, that was telling. I also love the fact, kind of the irony of, what was the thing many of us were saying about Tyrese in this series? Stop settling for outside shots. Keep attacking. And ultimately, it was a big and one late. And then the game-winning shot, he got a switch onto Giannis, and most people would have passed away from that. And he chooses to attack and chooses to get to the basket, something we all wanted to see more of in this series. So I thought that was notable. To me, it suggested just once he saw some shots go down, things changed for him a little bit. And that's often the case with so many guys. But, I mean, this group as a team started 1 of 10 from 3. I think they made like 8 of their next 10 from outside. But I think once Tyrese started to get in a rhythm there late in the fourth quarter, oftentimes that's when he takes the bulk of his shots. He kind of eases into things, and you wish he would take more earlier in the game. But, yeah, that was a good observation for sure.
Scott, I'll go here. More important player in this series as far as who the Pacers need to make sure they're keying in on or defending or accounting for, Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley, the defensive player of the year?
To me, it's Donovan Mitchell. And it's very much like Giannis because he has big game potential. And what I mean by that is he can go off for 50 and completely change a game. He has the playoff experience. He has a lot of that big game experience as well. And so, to me, it starts with Donovan Mitchell. If I had an MVP vote, he'd probably be my 5th guy just in recognition of his play, but more than anything, what the Cavaliers had accomplished this season. But, yeah, to me, it's no doubt Mitchell.
Scott, last one for me, shifting gears to the Fever. Obviously, your coverage is all over it. They do have a back-to-back coming up Saturday, Sunday, their first 2 preseason games. Saturday is at home, and then Sunday is at Caitlin Clark's home back in Iowa City. You are heading out there for that one. Has Stephanie White shared yet how she plans to kind of handle playing time? Because Stephanie White wasn't born yesterday. I think she knows that Caitlin Clark needs to play and play a good amount in Iowa, which lends me to think, would she really play a lot in a back-to-back? So I know you'd be neglecting your home fan base, but they get to see Caitlin Clark a whole lot, whereas the Iowa fans don't.
Yeah, no, we have not just gotten into that just yet, only because it's only 3 days of practice. I think that's something we'll probably touch on coming up tomorrow's practice after they wrap up the week of training camp here. But, yeah, I think that's a safe assumption. Maybe you play her a quarter. I think she'll want to play in the games, but I would guess maybe you play her a quarter or a half. And then sit her the rest, and then you read the room in Iowa of how much she needs or wants to play there because, yes, obviously this game is all about Caitlin going back to Iowa. And the one thing that she was joking about yesterday was, hey, be prepared. We're not used to having games in Carver Hawkeye Arena in May. There's no air conditioning, so brace yourself.
By the way, great work on the podcast with Flamingo Guy, Sign Guy. I enjoyed that listen a whole lot. I think he's got a cool story. I had kind of forgotten and hadn't heard in a while how much the Simon connection is there for him. I thought that was a great listen. So nice work on that. Fieldhouse Files, by the way, the podcast.
Yeah, appreciate it. Matt has got a great story. He's got a restaurant down there, Sanibel Island, and just such a diehard Pacer fan. And so it's been good to catch up with him. And I should note, yesterday I had to catch up with the story of the day. So after Fever Media Day, talked with John Halliburton. I'm writing that story here after we finish up. But his biggest thing was I want to pass along was he wanted to emphasize all you got to do is watch the real video. Watch the real video, and you'll see that it wasn't what they thought it was. And then it goes back to saying, hey, I got mutual respect from him. He said something, I said something, then it's all about love. You hear the overrated, you hear all the good stuff coming from there. Now here's the proof that he's not. So that also, you could tell that had to be hurtful for the family to hear those overrated chants, hear all the boos when he was back home in Milwaukee. And so while John was out of line and going on the court and being where he wasn't, he wanted to emphasize all he was doing was holding the banner and not trying to intimidate Giannis. He loves Giannis.
What does he mean by real video? I guess I'm a little confused by that.
I think what he meant there was the video that shows him just standing at the 3-point line, just holding the towel with Tyrese's face, not the second video where they're kind of butting heads and they're on the baseline. With the first thing too, he also emphasized, hey, that banner with his son, that's nothing new. He's had that previously. Fans maybe didn't realize that, but that was nothing new that he broke out there. But he emphasized the real video, which I think was not the shortened down one. It was the one of just him walking out there, turning, facing, not saying anything, and them two just kind of being at the same spot at the same time.
All right, Scott, thanks so much for coming on this morning and sharing that. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
There he is. We can break that down a little bit after the break if you want to. Hang on to that.
Okay, I was about to say.
Hang on to that.
I'm ready to.
My eyes are currently rolling in my head.
All three of us sat up straight.
Can you see those on the YouTube chat?
Hold it, and we're going to talk about it next on 93.5 and
rolling
107.5
and rolling and rolling.
The Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
The white flag is out at the world's greatest race course. 19-year-old Marco Andretti now less than 2 miles away from winning the 90th Indianapolis 500.
More left-hand turns, and Marco Andretti has punched the lead. He heads into the second corner.
What a headline it's going to make. Marco Andretti wins in his debut in Indianapolis. He has a 7-car length advantage midway down the backstretch for the final time.
Coming up on the scene in which he may have won the race last time by. They're waving bandanas, waving hats. Cut the left turn for racing immortality for 19-year-old Marco Andretti.
And Sam Hornish Jr. right on the tail of Marco Andretti. Can a teenager win in Indianapolis? Here's the finish. Sam Hornish Jr. makes the pass. He'll win it. Sam Hornish Jr. goes to the inside of Marco Andretti and wins it in the final 100 yards. Sam Hornish Jr. has won the 90th Indianapolis 500 in an incredible finish.
Man, the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. Can you imagine, James Boyd, cars that'll qualify at nearly 240 miles an hour go through a 500-mile race, and it gets decided within the last 100 yards of a 500-mile race at those speeds?
I want to say the fastest I've ever been in the car might have been 100 when I was younger and dumber. But, yeah, there's no way. And I also think, seriously, as athletes and growing up as somebody who, played basketball, ran track, watched football, that was what I thought of as an athlete. But I'm like, man, these guys are athletes too, because I feel like your body's so tense for so long that your adrenaline's high. Like, how drained are you after doing something like that?
The mental aspect,
that as well.
Physical, the reactions.
Respect
all
to
of
those
it.
guys.
You're going 220 miles an hour around a corner sometimes next to 2 other cars. Right? I mean, right next to them.
Nah,
crazy.
The best you're going to get from me is the, passing lane on the expressway going about 80, 85.
I always have loved the Cristaneri, can a teenager win in Indy? I thought that was such a great turn 4 call in 06. I've told Chris that many times. That to me, I mean, the 19-year-old passing dad with, 2 or 3 to go, and then Hornish out of nowhere at the end. I'm a little biased because it happened in my lifetime, but to me, no better finish in 500 history than that.
Well, it's the month of May, and we'll tell you all about it every day leading right up to the 24th, when we'll have live coverage from 6 a.m. until well past the checkered flag right here on 93.5.
Hopefully not as late as last year.
Yeah, hopefully weather cooperates. Right before the break there, we were talking to Scott Agnes. At the very end, he threw in a little story about how he had spoken to the father of Tyrese Halliburton, who had been out on the court in the face of Giannis Antetokounmpo at the conclusion of Game 5 the other night, and everybody's eyebrows kind of went up and our backs kind of straightened. Kevin, your reaction to the father of Tyrese Halliburton, John, saying, watch the real video to see what happened.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm just kind of done with John Halliburton's comments. Like, dude, just swallow your pride. Let's move on. It's time to worry about the Cavs. I'm done with the story. I get that, credit to Scott Agnes, credit to Dustin DePierac, Milwaukee TV station. They're doing what they should do, try to reach out to John Halliburton. You released a statement on Twitter after the game Tuesday night. That's all I need to hear. It's creating a longer storyline. It probably makes people feel like they got to ask Tyrese about it again. Yesterday he said something, I think it was to Dustin, of like, hey, I never initiated contact with Giannis. Dude, you went on the court and got in his face and waved the towel. You're not allowed to do that. If you're, James Dykton or Kevin Rickard, you're not going back to Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Just be fortunate that you are John Halliburton. You'll be back inside of the building. You'll be cheering for your son. Just admit that you were wrong. It sounds like me trying to justify my actions to my parents when I was in 7th grade. Well, I didn't really do that. No, that was Adam Schneider. That was Kevin Locker. No, Kevin, just admit you were wrong, and let's move on.
James, you and I were watching the real video that you took from high above the court, but you could clearly see everything that was going on. We watched that on your phone again during the break. Did you see anything different when we watched that back a moment ago?
So I'm kind of getting in the Kevin Bowen mode of like, all right, this is our last time breaking down film of this. But to recap, the first video, which is the one I released and kind of the sequence of events, John Halliburton clearly walks onto the court. He's waving the towel. He turns around. He sees Giannis, and he's walking towards Giannis and saying something to him. And it doesn't just look like, yeah. And then on top of that, the clip that you see all over ESPN and other websites and stations is after that where they kind of come face to face and have their disagreement and say a few words. So again, to say to watch the real video, we have the real video. You are in the wrong. You are dead wrong. And the more you keep talking about this and trying to explain yourself or say it wasn't as bad as it looked, it makes you and your son look worse. Just stop talking. Like that is probably the best advice that you could get. And even in that moment on the court, stop talking. Go find your son and kind of sit that one out. But yes, I'm not buying that.
Find your wife. Find your son's girlfriend. Find somebody else.
I mean, to be honest with you, this is where in our field, and I get it, we were taught in Big J journalism school to, get both sides. There is no other side. You are wrong. If we say, oh, you didn't necessarily curse at Giannis, that's fine, and certainly want to get that fact of it right. But the overall premise of it doesn't make you look any better. You shouldn't have been on the court. More people would have been arrested if they were normal people. Be happy that your son is Tyrese Halliburton and you're not having to deal with like a jail cell or something like that. And again, I don't think that should have happened, but there is no version of this where you look good. And the more you keep saying this, it makes you look, quite frankly, like you're not telling the truth.
They're going to print the Cavalier shirts for real if he keeps it up.
Dude, we have video of this.
Shirts. I love those shirts.
Remind everybody
Control
again,
your dad is what the
Yes.
fake AI-generated shirts going around Twitter yesterday say for Game 1 in Cleveland. Maroon shirts, Cleveland gold letters, control your dad. I laughed very hard at that when I saw it on social media yesterday.
All right, coming up in a moment.
I really hope we're done with the story, by the way. Like I think we've given it the proper attention it's needed, but I really hope
It's
9 o'clock
time.
hour and beyond, we can just be done with it. And unfortunately, when John Halliburton speaks, it just adds more to the story.
We'll continue to talk about the NBA playoffs, particularly the Pacers' place in them, and take a look ahead at what the next couple of weeks look like for the Indianapolis Colts and some big questions to be answered. We'll talk about those next as we continue at 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Al Unser Sr. had not led here since 1983. He's going to win his 4th Indianapolis 500. He's got one more turn to negotiate, and he'll be home free. He's only the 3rd driver in history to win the race from the 20th starting position to call the winner. Here's the voice of the 500, Paul Page.
And history is matched as the twin checkered flags come out for our 2nd 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, Al Unser.
Welcome to the month of May here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. You'll be hearing those sounds and getting a feel for the race all month long here and also at our partner station, WIBC. We're looking forward to that, and we always listen to those things. One of my favorite things on race weekend, too, Kevin, I don't know if you've had a chance to really pay attention to it, but once we finish our live programming on Friday evening, we do a marathon of what we call 560s that Scott Johnston has had a tremendous hand in helping to edit and put together and produce. And I think we have 26 or 27 of the races boiled down to just a 60-minute kind of highlight show. They're just tremendous listening if you're driving around or out and about and just getting yourself in the right frame of mind for the next day's race.
I'll never forget a couple years ago, Scotty emailing me and saying, hey, would you mind voicing over a couple of 500s and 60s? It was one of the happier emails I've ever gotten. I was like, this is so
praise.
cool.
I was so honored.
Yeah, I'm like, I listen to these all the time. And like, Michael Grady's voice is, one that's been on a lot of those 500s and 60s. So I cannot wait. Obviously, that weekend speaks for itself. But yeah, selfishly, I remember how happy I was when Scotty sent that email. And Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, that was Doug Boles' his favorite 500, right? Did he share that with us?
He said the Tony Kanaan one, yeah.
Yeah,
Tony Kanaan one, yeah. And then
in 2013, I think.
2013,
Yeah.
and then Al Unser, I think he brought that up as one of his other memories. But yeah, 2013 Kanaan certainly speaks for itself. And you mentioned Kanaan could be joining us at some point here in May?
A week from today.
Not racing, but certainly a huge part of what Arrow McLaren is all about. And we'll see if Pato O'Ward can no longer be the bridesmaid, because he has certainly been that here over the last couple of 500.
Literally a week from now is when Tony Kanaan will join us.
I like
9
it.
o'clock hour next Thursday.
I always
Look
think
at
of
that.
him in the 7-Eleven car and fire suit. And also, that was my first in-person Indianapolis 500.
2013?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Yeah, winning it in yellow. Big pass to get to the lead, but yes, won that in 2013. And certainly one of the cooler crowd reactions you'll ever see over there at IMS.
All right. We had a chance to talk to Doug Boles just a little while ago. If you missed that conversation, please go to 1075thefan.com. You can listen to all the things he had to say to get you ready for the month of May. In the meantime, month of May also means a lot of things for the Indianapolis Colts, Kevin Bowen. A lot going on over there as they start to get their 2025 team together and start to take a look at draftees and free agents and undrafted free agents and all kinds of things going on over there at West 56th.
Yeah, again, rookie minicamp coming up next week. I know yesterday, obviously, the Pacers dominated the conversation. We did have Riley Leonard on at 9:30, but let's get back to getting to know your draft pick. James Boyd, what should the audience know about Justin Wally? This is the 3rd-round pick, a corner out of Minnesota.
I would say you need to know he's played a lot of football. 49 games at Minnesota, 42 starts. Ball hawk, he's played inside or outside, meaning he's played in the slot, kind of the Kenny Moore role on the outside, which I believe this year will be Travarius Ward, the new addition from the 49ers. So he is a versatile player, and I think what stood out to me about at least the evaluation of him from Chris Ballard's perspective was that if you go against the athletic traits they usually target, which is like the bigger, longer corners, you have to have what he called instincts. And the guy seems to have really good football instincts because he's always around the ball. So is that something that they really wanted more of, especially in a defense with Lou Anarumo, that should be more multifaceted and may put you in situations where you're around the ball more?
When I saw the Wally pick, two things that immediately jumped to mind. Wow, 5'10" corner in the middle of round 3. That is very anti-Chris Ballard. It confirmed no trade backs on day 2. So that let me know that JT Tuimoloau and Wally, Ballard loves these dudes.
Yeah.
Loves them.
For
I
sure.
mean, actions speak louder than words. I don't know if you caught the behind the Colts series that they have put out here, but they put out an episode last night. And within that episode, great work by the Colts digital team over there at West 56th Street. But in that series, Ballard says, this will be one guy, if we don't get him, I'll be in a very bad mood. And it ended up being Wally. So for a 5'10 corner. Boy, I don't know if midlife crisis for Chris Ballard or what, but clearly he thinks super highly of a physical trait that usually doesn't meet, middle of round 3 for him. When the pick was made, I tweeted out, 5'10, kind of anti-Chris Ballard pick, and someone around the NFL text me and say, hey, I saw what you said about Wally, but, we really liked him, this team. And this is a team that I think is fair to say have some pretty accomplished defensive players. But they love the competitive spirit of him. They love the ball production. And while he doesn't have the height or maybe length, Kenny Moore's got a big wingspan. That's what they say, can help him make up for a lack of height. Wally doesn't even have that, really. What he has is great speed. They're like, trust me, he would not have lasted much, much longer in the draft had the Colts not picked him, because your guy, Dane Brugler, had him mocked much later than round 3. So this is a really interesting pick. On paper, I don't know where the playing time is necessarily right away. Maybe he's competing with Jalen Jones. But that'll be this will be a fun one, I think, to watch play out.
Certainly. I mean, we talk about position battles all the time, and I think this is also Chris Ballard kind of doubling down on him saying we need more competition throughout the roster.
You think it's a battle, him and Jalen Jones? That is now an open competition? Because Jalen Jones has played as many snaps as just about anybody on this defense over the last
Seems like it.
Yes. I mean, I kind of agree with Jeff to that point. Do you draft a third-round guy to not play him? So guys who go on
third-round guy who started 4 years in college.
Yeah, so guys who go on day 1 or day 2 of the draft, you're picking those guys to be starters most of the time by week 1. So I certainly think that Jalen Jones will not give him the position. He's going to have to go out there and win it. And Jalen Jones, to be fair to him, has played sound football. I think he's been a fine starting cornerback in the NFL.
I'd agree.
And I think that he certainly would, help this team. But, again, competition was what they preached, and this is Chris Ballard, I think, kind of doubling down on that.
Yeah, and for a 5'10 corner, really the traits that are probably going to help you and serve you well, you mentioned speed, closing speed, but the ability to go find the ball, great hand skills, and the ability to get up against some of these bigger wide receivers, probably leaping ability and the ability to go get the ball at a high point. And those things, if you're going to be 5'10", you just have to be able to do those things.
Yeah, I'm just picturing myself, and Kevin knows this, so Rick Venturi, as we call him, coach, who does a bunch of great things for the Colts broadcast team. He has this little stool thing he kind of carries around. It's like a handheld bench is kind of how I would describe it, or seat. And you can pop it open and sit down on it.
So you see guys with at a golf tournament.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he carries that around for a camp, and I just can't wait till we get down to joint practices, and I'm standing next to Rick Venturi, and he's telling me what's a good rep, what's a bad rep in competition, and who he would start and who he wouldn't. And so he kind of gives me a little bit more insight when it comes to those position battles, because sometimes I can't identify necessarily what I'm seeing or what's a win or what's a loss on a rep. But that'll certainly be something to keep an eye on for sure, and to just kind of hear how the coaches talk about that, because as much as we talk about the quarterback competition, they have a center competition, I believe, with Danny Pincer and Tanner Bortolini. And then, obviously, like we just talked about, cornerback is sort of wide open as far as who's going to be that third guy consistently out there, because we do know Kenny Moore and Tavarius Ward are locks to start.
Yeah, a couple other things on Wally. One, some people see this, and I didn't have corner very high on my – actually, I don't think I had it at all in the positional mock draft that I did. But having said that, some people have called this, hey, is this a luxury pick? And I get why people ask the question. On paper, Jalen Jones, Tavarius Ward, Kenny Moore, those are your top 3 corners. I don't view – if you ever draft someone at a premium position, I don't ever view that as a luxury pick. I just think corner matters so much. And I think the Colts' depth at corner has been exposed in recent years that I'm not going to call it that. If you would have drafted, I don't know, what's a position that you feel like you're set – if they would have drafted – I don't even know what to say, but another position, most years like linebacker, they're usually set at. I know this year that doesn't apply. I don't know if I would have necessarily called it that. But the other thing I thought when they drafted him, James, I just assumed, 5'10", he's the next slot corner for Kenny Moore. But they really feel like, no, he can play outside corner.
And that's what he said.
He's not just the slot replacement. And, Kenny turns 30 later this year. He's under contract through 26. So, he's not Braden Smith, just under contract through 25. And then I think anytime you draft a defensive player now moving forward, and obviously they drafted 2 defensive players in the first 3 rounds here in 2025, you have to factor in Lou Anarumo's presence. Like, we probably should start classifying defensive players on the Colts roster as Lou Anarumo draft picks or not, because that does matter. Now, again, Chris Bauer drafted all these guys, so I know that the GM is still the same, but, they have given Anarumo, if you think back to the offseason, the 2 free agent signings and then 2 of the first 3 draft picks, you have given him, if you ranked your 5 biggest investments of the offseason, your top 3 picks, and your 2 biggest free agent contracts, you've given Anarumo 4 of the 5. That's notable to me. So, if you're Juju Brents, you're a Gus Bradley draft pick. You're not a Lou Anarumo draft pick. If you're Jalen Jones, you're a Gus Bradley draft pick. You're not a Lou Anarumo draft pick. So I just think those are some things to continue to keep, maybe not on the front burner, but just to keep in mind. Yes, all of them fall under the Ballard umbrella, but still, it's a new regime. And really, I would say a decently substantial change in scheme and philosophy.
James, remind us of what Lou Anarumo brings, his philosophy for people who aren't as familiar.
Yeah, so for those who aren't as familiar, I believe Lou Anarumo was the Bengals defensive coordinator for the last 6 years before being fired and brought on here with the Colts. And a lot of the reason why he probably left Cincinnati or was kind of pushed out was because of the defense kind of falling off a cliff. But to play devil's advocate, they let a lot of good players walk as well. And his thing, and his players kind of nicknamed him, Ludini, because he's known for being multifaceted, being creative, kind of changing the scheme up week to week. So unlike Gus Bradley, who kind of had like this bend but don't break, like zone-heavy defense where we're going to try to force you to methodically take us down the field with short throws and quick crossers and stuff like that, Lou Anarumo is willing to kind of bend his defense week to week to what makes either quarterback, whatever players they're facing, struggle a bit more. So you might see more man one week or you might see more zone one week. But the theme of it, to kind of put a button on it, is that you want players who are very versatile because they're going to ask you to, cover, to tackle, to be out in space, to play close to the line of scrimmage. Like you don't want to necessarily be one guy who can do one thing great. I mean, if that is the scenario, yes, you take that. But if you can do a couple of things pretty good, that should help you stay on the field for Lou Anarumo.
And Lou Anarumo is going to play more defensive backs. And I think it's worth bringing up. That means the linebacker need, I think, in his eyes, is not as pressing. They're going to play a lot of nickel, 5 defensive backs, a lot of dime, 6 defensive backs. Gus Bradley hardly ever played dime. So when you have 6 defensive backs out on the field, that means probably only 1 linebacker. When you have 5 defensive backs, it probably means just 2 linebackers. So I think that is something benefits a guy like Wally and probably lessens the need a little bit for an abundance of linebackers. Again, be curious how it plays out in his first year here, but that's something that stood out to me. What do you make of that Matt Gay contract? Commanders for Matt Gay, $4.25 million, I believe, guaranteed. So he is he's their kicker, no competition there with the Commanders.
You brought up a little while ago, one of you, I can't remember where it was, that he was battling through some injuries last year, and maybe that had something to do with everything, and maybe the Commanders bring him in, they give him a physical, they work him out, and he says, man, this is the best I've felt in a year and a half. I feel myself for the first time. They say, okay, that's great. The medicals check out with our doctors. Now let's go see what you can do in a workout, and maybe he's just banging field goals from 55, and they go, yep, that's our guy. We've seen him do it before with the Rams. Now he's going to be our guy moving forward.
Yeah, and in fairness to Matt Gay, as I talked about earlier, Jeff, I believe he had hernia surgery last year. He had a hip injury. Now, obviously, that can't be used as a year-long excuse as to why you were missing, but he also didn't miss, I believe, from inside 50. So if you factor that in, he had a okay season. I wouldn't say it was great. It wasn't what you paid for if you're the Colts front office. But at the same time, this wasn't, in my opinion, like Adam Vinatieri towards his last few years with the Colts, where you're just missing chip shots left and right, and you're just not functional at all as a kicker. He was good until you got beyond 50. So is that a factor in the Commanders' decision to say, hey, well, this guy does make them, inside the 50, and if he, to your point, Jeff, if he can kind of correct himself a little bit, does that give us some stability at that position to hopefully, help them go on a deep playoff run? So we'll see, but I wasn't surprised to see him get picked up one bit, because I was a bit surprised, not that the Colts got rid of him, but that they got rid of him before they had a kicking competition with him and Spencer Schrader.
And Kevin, it appears while we're talking about the Commanders too, they're going all in to try and get something done with their quarterback under a rookie contract that they completely believe in at this point.
Certainly, yeah, they did that last offseason. I think the Texans have showed some signs of that as well. There are a lot of teams that view their rookie contract in that light. One thing to note kicker-wise, it appears right now the Colts kicking competition, to go back to James's point, is going to be young, one-year player Spencer Schrader with 5 field goals in the NFL versus undrafted Maddox Trujillo. Do we like a kicker that has a nickname of Automatics?
No.
Could be worse. Never Maddox.
No, we don't like that.
Nah, I mean,
his name could be Maddox Shank.
Prove it in the NFL. Yeah.
I'll say this.
Is it best when your kicker doesn't have a nickname?
I was gonna say
like Adam Vinatieri.
Who was the kid from Missouri a couple years ago? The thicker kicker. You remember him?
Yeah, and
Mavis, I think was his name. Something like that.
Dicker the kicker.
That might be a Google search I don't want to look at.
Yeah.
But seriously, I mean, maybe
especially not on these computers.
I'll admit, because I try to be an honest hater, I am hating right now on the nickname because if you make your kicks, it's an amazing nickname. You love it. But right now, nah, man, you got to prove it in the NFL first before we go giving nicknames.
16 of 22 in college. Or at Temple last year. I should probably know this. NFL uprights, are those shorter than college uprights? Closer together, I mean?
I'm not sure.
Go back. I want to say they're slightly narrower, but I can't swear to that now.
Because I bring that up because Temple, where Trujillo played last year, home games Lincoln Financial Field, and he made a 64-yarder.
They're the same.
They are the same?
Yes.
Okay, well, totally disregard that thought that I brought up. He made a 64 and 60-yarder in college. Folks, we watch college kickers every Saturday. Dudes ain't making 64 and 60-yarders. First college kicker to make 2 60-yarders or longer since 1977. So the leg is of no worry. Now 16 of 22.
You're hoping that they were trying a couple of end-of-half 60-yarders that he didn't quite get.
Well, I would rather him just be super reliable. Yeah, I mean, obviously the big leg is nice and it's a bonus, but certainly this is the debate you get into with kickers. Of the Colts had a kicker that didn't miss inside of 50. Do you view 50? Is 50 now a free throw versus a layup? Like 50 is like it should be a kick NFL kickers can make, right?
It's
because Matt Gay was Tristan Thompson at the line. He was Giannis when the count gets to 12 or 13 at the line. That's what it was turning into. So how greedy do you get at kicker, I guess is what I'm getting at.
That's a great question. I don't know what the answer is, but I know I always compare kickers to like golfers. You've seen golfers that have these incredible 18, 24-month runs where they're hitting their irons within 15 feet all the time, and they're making all their putts, and they're doing everything, and that swing is perfect. And all of a sudden they lose it, and they can't make cuts all of a sudden. Kickers are a lot of the same way, don't you think? They're in that groove, they're hitting everything, and then they lose whatever it is that they have going, and they can't seem to make anything, James.
Yeah, I think there's a certain layer to that, but at the same time, I mean, one, how many times are you going to be kicking from forever out there, 60-plus yards? I mean, if you're doing that often, you're not winning many games. But you like the strength of the kicker. It's just, can you kind of find that magic and stick with it? Because, again, to your point about Matt Gay, and really to Jeff's point about kickers overall, Matt Gay started off like this, kind of going down, picked it up with the Rams, became a dude, and was an all-time great, I would say, for about 2 or 3 years there. Made about 90% of his field goals, and then he kind of tapered off a bit more with the Colts, and now he's looking to kind of bounce back up. So it does kind of come and go, but this guy, again, hasn't proven it yet, so we have to see. I'm looking at his field goals right now. He, 72% last year, 16 of 22. Made 5.
That was an automatic in my day. Back on the school grading scale, that was not automatic. 72, your parents were giving you a talking to.
On the Dykton report card there. Thank you to Jason. Thank you to Kirk. Hash marks. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. They are wider in the NFL.
Audience is always the smartest person in the
college.
Room.
Wider.
Here's the other thing about kickers that we forget sometimes. You look at a guy like Harrison Butker, like him, hate him, whatever, but he is ultra reliable for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they kind of feel like, yep, Patrick Mahomes is going to get us to the 38-yard line, and then Harrison Butker is going to send us home.
Oh, kicking matters.
Let
me be very clear.
So consistent about it.
Yeah, kicking matters a ton. I mean, in the NFL, these one-possession games, that's why I half laughed, half cried, half smiled, asking you guys in the week leading up to the draft, should the Colts draft a kicker? If we said right now, Hunter Wohler, instead of him being the 7th-round pick, would have turned into a kicker,
we'd get it.
That kicks for you for the next decade.
We'd get it.
You would have said, see you, Hunter Wohler. Like, I don't need to worry about you. Now, of course, when Matt Gay was cut by the Colts, I brought this up to you guys. If you look at the last handful of drafts and you look at the dozen kickers that have been taken in the NFL, Matt Gay's like the second-best kicker out of all of them. Just because you draft one doesn't mean that cures all. So, man, honestly, thinking about kickers, gosh, makes you feel like you need to call We Grow Hair Indy. It is just, man.
Well done.
You just lose hair and it gets gray real quick. I mean, hell, Mark, you're the poster child of it with your Bears. Double doink and.
Well, here you go. He was 5 of 8 on field goals of 50 yards or more last season. So.
Which is very, I mean, that's
promising.
Obviously very impressive in college, but I don't know. I'm probably more of a higher percentage more than like, hey, we need you from 61. I'd rather you just be super consistent from 48.
That is going to
make
that is going to be a sneaky storyline heading in training camp, because if they go with Spencer Schrader and these like doinking kicks are missing, it's like then you're really
that's what I'm saying.
You're going into the free agency really quickly to try to find anybody that can start kicking for you.
Well, the good news is all over the league, every Tuesday, Kevin, there's always a kicker competition somewhere.
Yeah, Cairo
right?
Santos versus Zane Gonzalez every Tuesday around the NFL.
All right, let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
JB, there are no Pacers game to talk about this morning, and that is a very good thing.
Yeah, I know you texted me in Game 5. You're a little bit stressed there. We all kind of were thinking, man, are they going to blow this? But they got it done, and now it is on to round 2 against the Cavaliers on Sunday.
And we will find out later this week whether it's a 6 p.m. tip or an 8 p.m. tip. We, of course, all rooting for the 6 p.m. tip, right?
Yeah, I would certainly say that.
8 o'clock. Get the kids in bed so I don't have to worry about them.
You know what?
Spend some time with Max there. Come on.
I'm with Kevin on that one.
I want to spend more time with him. I don't want to be multitasking with the game.
I'm with Kevin on that one.
Yes, give me 8 o'clock over 6. I know. I'm speaking for a minority, but Mark and I will carry that flag.
I'm there for you. Last night in the NBA, the Rockets stay alive against the Golden State Warriors, 131-116. Golden State still leads the series 3-2. Fred VanVleet had 26. Amen Thompson was terrific with 25. The team that got eliminated last night, LeBron James and the Lakers, they go down in 5 games to the Minnesota Timberwolves, 103-96. I think we all have this on our bingo card. Rudy Gobert with 27 points and 24 rebounds.
I thought it was hilarious that, one, they did not play a center in that game against him, and they kind of just stuck with it. And obviously Rudy went off. But then, 2, there was a video of Anthony Edwards walking out, and obviously people call him Ant-Man. He's like, Ant-Man, Batman, Spider-Man, Lakers in 5. And I'm like, well, obviously you got him out of there in 5, so respect to him for talking his trash and getting it done.
All right, later on tonight, Knicks and Pistons.
I can't wait.
You and I agree on this. I think this is a fascinating series.
I think it's been, and I don't know, maybe it's the young child in me of those are the 2 hated franchises I had growing up. But
does it give you a throwback vibe too, though?
Yes. I think the intensity's been terrific. And how about the road teams? Is it 4 straight road wins in the series?
I believe so, yeah.
So far. So, that is unusual. It's not often I sit here in like game 1 of an NBA playoff series being like, I can't wait to watch this game tonight. But that's how I feel about it. So, again, Knicks going for the clinch on the road after they squandered that opportunity in Game 5. And the Nuggets as well, right? They're going for the clinch on the road tonight, up 3-2 over the Clippers.
I need at least one Game 7.
How about,
Yes, agreed.
At least one.
How about in the last Nuggets win over the Clippers when Jamal Murray just went off for 43 points? They win a playoff game where Jokic is 4 of 13 from the field.
Question, is Jamal Murray like the greatest non-All-Star ever? I'm not saying that as a joke either.
He's a dude I would want on my team.
Yeah. I feel like no All-Stars for him. I would not have guessed that.
It's
that
because of the injuries and kind of the inconsistency.
Gosh, he was so bad in the Olympics
the playoffs
last year.
come, and then he's like a top 10 player. Seriously.
Yeah.
3-2, the Nuggets lead that series. They're trying to close it out. Major League Baseball, Reds on the wrong end of 2 games in a doubleheader against the Cardinals yesterday.
Being a Reds fan, are you abandon following this team?
Haven't yet.
How'd the Cubs do yesterday? I missed that. I wasn't really following baseball.
They lost to the Pirates 4-3.
Oh,
it is a good one, though. Pitching matchup, Colin Ray against Paul Skeens today, so check that one out. You might want to watch some good baseball, Kevin. Just giving you some options there.
Oh, yeah. My team had just won 5 in a row, I guess.
They scored 1 run in 2 games.
Good baseball.
One good thing for our team.
We suck again.
You only had 100 years of that, Mark. You would know all about that.
That's Mark's boss. Can you put him to work, like actual work, and not just these childish sounds?
Have you heard the intros for the Indy 500 this morning?
Right.
We give him some grade.
Right, don't be snitching now.
Did Zoom call into your class today and
I was briefly checking
teach your
out
kids something.
The games yesterday. Did Ellie De La Cruz continue his 14-game hitting streak?
Mark, I did, say, I texted Mark. I go, hey, like March 1, I think May 1 should have some 500 highlights, and Mark's done wonderful at that. I'm just asking for maybe the entire well-rounded nature. We don't want to be just a shooter, just a passer, just a rebounder. We want to be multifaceted.
That's
what we need.
God, that beard, Mark. I just got a glimpse of it, man. You're not messing around.
I think it's getting shaved this weekend.
No,
I think it's going.
He's got his Pacers playoff beard
I think it
going.
looks great.
No, I have to speak at my daughter's class. Oh, I shouldn't probably say that's supposed to be a surprise. She's in school anyway, though. I'm speaking at my daughter's class Monday right after the show, and should probably shave it. I don't want to look like a buffoon.
At least trim it up a little bit.
Are there eggs hatching in that beard?
I know. I just haven't shaved in weeks.
Well, I asked him first thing this morning when I came in. I said, are we going for the full beard this summer? He's like, no, it's gone this
I
weekend.
think it's gone.
I'm going to let it wolf.
What does Mrs. Dyketon have to say about
She
it?
likes it. She wants it to stay.
Well,
I'm like,
there
you're
you
not.
go.
It's not on your face. It's on mine. It's starting to itch.
My dad has hair on his head right now because my mom told him, I don't like you bald, and his hair still grows. So now he's got a little, we call him the silver wolf. He's got the gray hair coming in. He looks pretty good.
All right. Coming up in a moment. Do we have something to give away today, Mark? I think we do.
Yeah, we've got actually 2 4-packs of Indy 11 tickets for this Saturday. We didn't give them away yesterday because obviously we were very loaded, especially in the 9 o'clock hour. So we've got 2 4-packs of Indy 11 tickets to give away.
Detroit FC coming in this weekend,
Correct.
I believe. Yep. All right, let's do that. 2 numbers between 1 and 8 today, James.
Make them work.
Ooh, man. I'm going to go, I'm going to go 7 and 8.
See, this is what happens when you're going off on the Cubs there, or on the Reds. So there
He
you
got
go.
no affiliation with them. He doesn't care.
I don't, but the pettiness in me wants to see you squirm a little bit.
Okay.
All right, callers 7 and 8, family 4-packs to go see Indy 11 this weekend. It's a really good time over there at Carroll Stadium. You want to take advantage of that, and it's freebies. We'll do that. We'll talk a little bit more about Colts, Pacers playoffs ahead, and a little about the NBA in general next on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
JB and Jeff.
Off turn 4 for the final time. Emilio Castro-Neves comes to the start-finish line. Twin checkers out, and then there were 4. Emilio Castro-Neves joins the 4-time Winners Club. He wins the 105th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
One of my favorite people, Mark James, on the call. We were talking about Coach Venturi a little while ago and had a chance to talk to Doug Boles, and we talked to Chris Denari all the time, and I love Mark Boyle. He's a friend of mine I appreciate, but man, Mark James is also one of my favorite people. Just good people.
I love when we do the IHSA look backs and we get to hear Mark James' voice on some of those calls in March. I know he's done some baseball state finals as well, so I cannot wait certainly to hear much more of him. And a reminder, again, Barber this weekend, 1:30, so tip time while we await for the Pacers game 1, either 6 or 8 o'clock. That is dependent on Warriors-Rockets. So if you want 6 o'clock start time, you want the Rockets to win Friday night. You want that to go to a game 7. If you want the 8 o'clock start time, you want the Warriors to finish them off at home on Friday night. But again, IndyCar is 1:30 on Sunday from Barber. So no matter what, we will get a nice spaced out day on our station for IndyCar and the Pacers.
And I am selfishly rooting for the Rockets. So, A, we can get a game 7. And the Pacers start at 6 p.m. It's all those things.
Right. I mean, I'm good with either or, but yeah, I would love to see a game 7. I believe that would actually be in Houston, but something tells me Steph Curry has something for them game 6 at home. Have you seen his thumb, by the way?
No.
His thumb is like double the size of what it normally is, and he's playing through something. The shooting thumb.
Really?
Well,
and he's still shooting that thing, as my dad would say. But it's definitely something that is a factor. And I mean, not to get too much onto the Warriors beat here, but the Rockets have been open about we're going to hit that thumb to make sure you kind of feel our presence.
Dylan Brooks will certainly do that.
Yeah, then neither Jimmy Butler or Steph Curry amongst the leaders in scoring last night either.
And that's a game that obviously you're not going to win.
Yeah, no, not going to happen there. We have a couple of winners to announce momentarily for the Indy 11 tickets in a few moments. Also, it's the month of May. We've been hearing all those rejoins all day long. We had Doug Boles on a little while ago. You can go to the website at 1075thefan.com and check that out. But also a reminder, while you're at the website, register to get in on the 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan invitational golf outing. You getting your clubs out and getting ready to go, JB?
Brother, if you think I have clubs, you don't know me very well.
I was going to say, watch out the cars on 465. James Boyd's got the clubs out.
First of all, I can't even hit the ball that far. And so I would say watch out for you and Jeff and your heads if you're right next to me.
Where's your preferred practice facility, Kevin?
Oh, I think there are some great ranges around town. Riverside's a great place, indoor and outdoor. The Fort has an excellent driving range. Shout out to John Swan, the pro up there. So, yeah, and that's somewhat close to Cathedral where I'm picking up my kids. So, yeah.
All right, coming up Thursday, August 7th, it's presented by Franciscan Health, and that's what we love about partnering with these folks in the community. The Franciscan Foundation, making a meaningful impact while enjoying a fantastic day on the course. We'll tell you all more about that as we get closer and closer, but registration is open, 10 a.m., August the 7th. Go to 93.5, 107.5 The Fan, and Legends Golf Club is a terrific place to play, too.
Used to be the home of the state finals, so shout out.
What was that?
To Ted Bishop and company down
Love
there, so looking forward to that, and I've got some great fond memories. So enjoying making the trek down 65. What is it? Exit 95. I think it's the Whiteland exit, if I remember correctly. So looking forward to it.
I've had a couple of people reach out to us about, are we going to do golfing with the listeners again at some point this year?
Oh, I would love that.
We have to do
a throwback to what you and I did.
I think we need to do that again.
I think we might have done the Legends at one point.
Yeah, we did.
Hickory Stick, I think we did as well. I'm trying to think there was another
Speedway.
Course. Did we do the Brickyard?
Yeah, we did the Brickyard.
Man, yeah, we got to dial that back up
fun.
then.
We a couple of years ago, KB and I would just, I think 3 or 4 times during the course of summer, went and played golf with listeners. Had a good time.
Did you beat the listeners? Or did
Kevin
they beat you?
Kevin did.
Okay. Got to represent Kevin.
I guess my invite got lost in the mail.
You're invited.
By the way,
when's the last time you played golf?
Probably last August. It's like the one time I get out usually.
I'd like to give a shout out to Eric Steger, the legend, the Ball State product. Yesterday qualified for the PGA Championship. To nerd out over golf here for 1 minute, if you don't mind. You head to your local golf course. You'll have a PGA professional, a pro, at the course. They give lessons. They run the shop. They do.
They work hard.
They work hard. They work long hours. And the great thing about the PGA Championship, which is our next major coming up here in 2 weeks, They do invite 20 PGA pros to be among the 156 players in the field. Eric Steger, Noblesville, Ball State qualified yesterday, as well as Tim Wiseman from down south. I know Jamie Brose, Vince Strawman, a couple other local pros, good dudes, great players. They were very close to qualifying as well. So shout out to Eric Steger. Good dude, Steger family, representing there.
Not
Eric
to make you jealous.
Steger heading to the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, where Rory McIlroy has some rich history.
He just won there last year on the tour. Not to make you jealous, though, and I don't know if my schedule is going to allow me to go, but I just got my credential for the PGA.
Look at that. Salt meet wounds there.
Got to figure out a way to maybe
Quail Hollow in Charlotte in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, coming up in a minute, we'll close it out with some more Pacers talk, a little look ahead at what the Colts have coming up, and Mark's got some winners, too, for our Indy 11 giveaway just a moment ago. It's all next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
From the dusty tracks of Texas, the Racing Hall of Fame, and there goes Foyt toward turn 3. Doug Zink. And the crowd on its feet as A.J. Foyt, they're waving at him, waving him on through turn number 3, off of 3 into the short chute. Here's Jim Shelton. Hey, the crowd is up there cheering, as you can hear in the background. Not only the eyes of Texas, but the eyes of the world are on this great man. And now to call the checkered flag, our chief announcer, who did call a great race today, Paul Page. A.J. Foyt down the main straightaway. The checkered flag is out. A.J.'s hand in the air. He is the winner. A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis has won his 4th 500-mile race.
Stellar work by our own Mark Dykton today, giving us a little glimpse into the past of the Indianapolis 500. It is the month of May. We spoke to IMS and IndyCar President Doug Boles a little while ago. If you missed that conversation, really a lot of fun. Go check it out at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. It's actually 1075thefan.com. We have 2 winners for our Indianapolis 4-pack to go see Indy 11 and Detroit FC this weekend.
Yep. Shout out Brandon. Shout out Rod. So there you go.
Outstanding work.
Could I throw one thing in on the Doug Boles combo? It's a question I've gotten a lot, and I do think it is a very relevant question with zero political agenda behind it whatsoever. But if indeed the President of the United States were to attend the Indianapolis 500, wow, from a security standpoint.
It changes everything.
I mean, that changes a lot. So I felt it relevant to ask Doug Boles that. I appreciate his answer. I thought he was pretty candid in answering the questions about that and what all would go into it. Again, nothing on that front just yet, but when Roger Penske and Joseph Newgarden, among others, visited the White House a few weeks back, President Trump did mention something to the effect of, I need to get there, and he visited Daytona last year, right? I think it was, or maybe it was, I forget exactly when that was, but certainly that is a part of the planning process over there at IMS. Again, nothing has been confirmed whatsoever, but if indeed that occurs, brace yourself for long, long lines.
I'm imagining traffic getting in when the president's not there, and imagining what that could possibly look like.
Could you imagine being like the traffic guard?
No,
it's like,
no.
Do you even need one?
I can't imagine.
You're not going anywhere. I feel like I would just
I
Uber
can't imagine
to like
any of it.
I'll probably Uber to like a nearby
I'm like, could they
venue or something and just walk?
Helicopter
there's no way I
him
would,
onto
like,
the golf
drive over
course
there.
and walk in through turn 2 and be in those turn 2 suite. I don't know.
I thought his answer was very interesting, though. He said he would hope to hear from them sooner rather than later, but he also would ask that they treat the grounds like a city,
correct,
as opposed to just a venue, which makes all the sense in the world if you've been there, because it's just such a large place.
300,000 people, he was saying, so certainly would make sense to treat it like a city.
Man, but anyway, that's coming up. Also, nice another day of rest for the Indiana Pacers today. You can just watch basketball tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Like we were talking about, the Knicks and Pistons, going to be a great game. And that one, see if they can force it to go to 7. And it's been physical. It gives you the old school vibes maybe you miss. And certainly I expect a little bit of those old school vibes come Sunday when the Pacers and Cavs do kick off or play off. Because, it was funny to hear Rick Carlisle mention Aaron Nesmith in the same breath as Ron Artest, or now Metta World Peace. So maybe that physicality can help the Pacers kind of set the tone.
Yeah, and a little bit of an upset in the first round series, but for the most part, seeds are holding serve. For the most
absolutely.
Part.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers got packed up. I could tell very early on last night. I was watching that first quarter. Not a lick of defense in sight. I'm like, those boys are in L.A. They're ready to get out in those L.A. streets after this and be done with this series. Who wants to go back to Minnesota besides the Wolves? So they're done, but we'll certainly see if the underdog, I don't know if they're underdog, the Warriors, but they're certainly the lower seed can, close it out here in the next couple of days.
Such a crazy year for the Lakers, from the Luka trade to the rejection of the Mark Williams trade to hiring a media guy that had played college and pro basketball. It's not like he was a stranger to the game. And J.J. Redick, how do you think he did his first year with the Lakers?
He didn't end it very well. I mean, he certainly didn't look like he was in control of that series, probably got out-coached at some points. He played all those guys a ton of minutes in Game 4 down the stretch, and it came back to bite you. And then last night you didn't play the only center on your roster. That came back to bite you. But as far as Pacers fans go, they're probably like, well, LeBron, you won the battle. As far as little tip-in, we won the war because we're advancing to the second round, and you are going home, my man.
That's the appropriate level of pettiness that we like here. And speaking of the Lakers and pettiness, you had mentioned earlier, Kevin, you see Mark Williams giving a little smiley face emoji to the Lakers after they got ejected last
night. Yeah, and
night.
again, for those that not following totally, that was the trade back at the trade deadline that had Mark Williams going from Charlotte to L.A. and then was rescinded after he failed his physical, and center was a big issue. One thing they mentioned during the trade deadline was they wanted, kind of a rim-running sort of lob threat at center, which makes sense with Luka. Not to get into a Miles Turner debate because, I'd rather talk Pacers-Cavs, but Turner is a free agent this year. Turner's not that. Turner's a very good center, but he's not that type of center. So, I don't know. It seems like Lakers and Turner, we debate it annually. If you want to believe them at their word, it's a little bit of a different sound from them, but just so much looking forward to Sunday and cannot wait for this. And the Darius Garland injury. I think Cleveland will probably get back to practice today. Pacers will get to practice tomorrow. Where's Darius Garland at with that toe injury?
And I wanted to point out, too, James, terrific article this morning that you published on The Athletic about the Fever and them getting ready to go with DeWanna Bonner, a 37-year-old signed for 1 year, but she was with Stephanie White in Connecticut last year. But she's a two-time WNBA champion, a six-time All-Star, and she's really been brought on to help guide this younger team through the growth period they need as they want. Caitlin made it clear the other day when we were there, the goal is a championship. That's it, this year.
Stephanie White said that is the team's mama bear, and Caitlin said verbatim, I want to win for her. So obviously high expectations, and even yesterday at Media Day, Caitlin said unequivocally, when asked what's their goal for the season, what will be a successful season, she said a championship.
One-word answer, right?
Yep,
championship. That was it. Caitlin Clark's usually rather expansive in some of her answers, but that was very simple.
That's all you need right there.
Direct and to the point. So, yeah, again, reminder, Saturday afternoon, Sunday, Iowa City, Saturday over at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Fever preseason games 2 weeks from Saturday, their regular season opener.
It's getting there. Again, want to thank Doug Boles and Scott Agnes for stopping by today. Great conversation with them yesterday. Please go check out the website, 1075thefan.com, because if you missed yesterday, you missed Jack Doyle, you missed Riley Leonard. We had a big day the last couple of days here on the morning show. Great job out of you today, Mark Dykton. Keep them coming, man. It's the month of May. You're the gift that keeps on giving, and we appreciate you and Scotty and all the things that you do. Other than your slander of the Reds, we'll keep you. All right,
great
coming
work
up today,
Mark, in all seriousness.
noon to 3, it'll be Jake Query from 3 to 6. The Ride with JMV. You've been listening to the Fan Morning Show with JB, KB, Mark, and Jeff on 90.